Chapter 22. Hearing this sentence again, Unlin felt like he was about to go crazy. What was going on with this ghostly cycle? Ah! Unlin raised his fist and smashed it behind him. Spare me, big brother Unlin. Seeing the terrifying wind pressure in Unlin's fist, the man almost fell to his knees. Hearing that familiar voice, Unlin's fist paused, and there was a look of surprise on his face. Lu de Bao, it's you? The newcomer was slightly plump and had a harmless look on his face. He was looking at Unlin excitedly. He was none other than Lu de Bao, the one who got to know Unlin through a fight. In the sky, Madagascar sat on a gigantic book. Her slender hands danced about as she recorded some data in a notebook. Li Jingyang, combat capability. 120, achievement score. 40, note. Defeated by Unlin. Unlin, combat capability. 100, achievement score. 28. As Madagascar used her finger to record Unlin's data, the corners of her lips curled up, and a faint smile appeared on her face. This brat is surprisingly hard-working. He actually managed to turn the tables. She adjusted her decorative red-rimmed glasses, and her slender legs swayed slightly. There was a thoughtful expression on her face. I remember that he was of the Zeroth stage Dao body when he entered the university, right? However, judging from the aura he exuded during the battle just now, he's already of the 7th stage Dao body. Such a terrifying rate of progression. Is he using hacks? Right at this moment, Lu de Bao suddenly appeared behind Unlin. There were also a dozen or so students following behind Lu de Bao. Haha, these people aren't here to cause trouble for Unlin again, are they? Does Unlin have the constitution to attract trouble? Seeing this amusing scene, Madagascar smiled and looked toward Unlin again. Unlin's eyelids twitched when he saw the dozen or so unfamiliar students behind Lu de Bao. What are you doing here? You're not here to pick a fight with me again, are you? Unlin asked. Lu de Bao hurriedly waved his hands. Of course not. Big brother, you're so powerful that I wouldn't be able to defeat you even if I wanted to. What he said was the truth. When he first arrived, he saw Unlin display his invincible might and beat Li Jingyang to the ground with a single punch. That extremely visually impactful battle of immortal techniques caused him to be extremely shocked, and no matter how confident he was, he didn't dare fight the current Unlin. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at in a new light. Lu de Bao shook his head and sighed. Unlin's strength had suddenly become so strong. Lu de Bao was both surprised and envious. He wished he could be in Unlin's place. Unlin heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that Lu de Bao wasn't here to pick a fight with him. Right at this moment, the system beeped with a ding. Congratulations, you have successfully defeated an enemy who is at or above the 8th stage Dao body. You have now broken through to the 8th stage Dao body. Unlin felt the strength in his body increase drastically. At this moment, all the muscles and bones in his body also became purer and stronger. The change in the strength in his body made him extremely happy, and many thoughts began to form in his mind. In the system's view, landing the killing blow was also considered as defeating the enemy. This was truly good news for him. Next, he had to continue landing the killing blow. I'm definitely going to be the king of killing blows. The reason why Unlin was so eager to land the killing blow was because in the rank section of the system, the rank advancement mission had changed to the following requirements. 9th stage Dao body, condition. Defeat 10 enemies who are at or above the 9th stage Dao body head-on. Defeating 10 enemies who were at or above the 9th stage Dao body was something that Unlin didn't even dare to think about in the past. However, there was now hope. If he couldn't beat them, then there was no need to face them head-on. He just had to deal with the low amount of damage. Just as Unlin's imagination was running wild, Lu de Bao spoke again. Big brother, after seeing your invincible might, I have a request to make of you. Tell me, what is it? Unlin was a bit curious. The free-for-all battle prohibited team battles. Under such circumstances, what could he do to help? Ahem, it's like this. Lu de Bao cleared his throat and said with a solemn expression, I hope that Big Brother and can defeat me. And Lin, in the end it's still a fight? Lu de Bao had a heroic expression on his face. Everyone has died since ancient times. To die by my hands, I will have no regrets in this life. And Lin grimaced. He finally understood what Lu de Bao was trying to say. You want to borrow my hand to force out the defeat judgment seal so that you can escape from this damned place, right? Aya, brother, you can see through it but not say it. Lu de Bao said with a bitter expression, I'm just a punching bag in this place with my cultivation base. As he said this, Lu de Bao glanced at the dozen or so students behind him. Those who are too weak can't force out the golden light of the defeat judgment seal. As for those who are too strong, their attacks are too vicious. They might cripple us with a single move. If that happens, we won't be able to get out of bed for half a month. Now that I've met Brotherin, the heavens have opened their eyes. Now, I just hope that you can control your strength and force out the golden light of the brothers behind me and me. Lu de Bao's eyes shone brightly. He held onto An Lin's hand with a pleading expression on his face. An Lin took a deep breath. He really didn't know what kind of expression he should use to face this group of people. They were lining up to deliver their heads to him. Would he accept it or not? Just like that, Madagascar, who was above the array formation, once again saw an unbelievable scene. He saw the students lining up to fight with An Lin. Then, they were all instantly killed by An Lin, first year, class 100, Lu de Bao. Student An Lin, please enlighten me. Lu de Bao shouted as he charged forward. Then, he was sent flying by An Lin's mountain-quaking fist, which had only used 1/10 of his strength. Lu de Bao was hit by the huge force. He spat out blood and fell to the ground. The huge difference in strength instantly triggered the defeat judgment seal. Enveloped by the golden light, Lu de Bao looked at An Lin gratefully and revealed a blissful expression. First year, class 100, Li Yuanqing. Student An Lin, please enlighten me. Then, Li Yuanqing was sent flying by a punch. Enveloped by the golden light, he looked at An Lin with a blissful expression. First year, class 99, Song Jingwu. Student An Lin, please enlighten me. Madagascar slapped his forehead. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at the scene unfolding on the ground. She hesitated for a moment. In the end, she continued to increase An Lin's achievement points. Every time he defeated a student, An Lin's achievement points would increase by 5 points. There was no helping it. Fighting 5 trash was also a resource. Finally, when An Lin defeated the last student, his data became combat strength, 100 achievement points, 108. The new round of Immortal Rankings board evaluation was based on the weighting of combat strength and achievement points to determine the ranking. Now, An Lin's combat strength hadn't increased, but his achievement points had increased by leaps and bounds. This was all thanks to Lu de Bao and the others who had lined up to kill him. Student An Lin's luck is really not bad. However, if he continues to move forward, Madagascar looked at An Lin's advancing figure with a look of anticipation on his face. After defeating a dozen students, An Lin had expended a lot of his strength. He planned to find a place to rest and recover his strength before continuing. Looking into the distance, he saw a small mountain in front of him. The mountain was covered by a green forest. It was very rare to see a place with green vegetation in this barren area. What the forest of 1,000 peaks lacked the most was food and water. When An Lin saw the small mountain, he knew he would have food and water. Just like that, he started to walk toward the small mountain excitedly. Chapter 23. After An Lin's rank rose to the 8th stage Tao body, he could also cultivate the Earth Element Cultivation Method. Stage 1 Earth Lotus Supreme Skill Condition. Meditate atop the Black Rock Peak for 1 day. The Black Rock Peak was a very famous mountain in the forest of 1,000 peaks. It was said that the mountain was pitch black and smooth. If one wanted to climb it barehanded, the chances of success were 0. The only way to reach the top of the black rock peak was to fly up. Sigh, if only I knew how to fly on a sword. Unlin had a bitter expression on his face. Sword kinesis flight was a flying technique that could only be mastered by cultivators of the spirit-nurturing stage and above. His rank wasn't high enough, so even if he grasped the basic theoretical knowledge, he still wouldn't be able to fly. Since he couldn't fly, then he'd set aside the cultivation of the Earth Lotus Supreme skill for the time being, and Lin stopped thinking about the system. The first thing he had to do now was to reach the small mountain in front of him. Of course, there was another more important thing, and that was to find a target to land the killing blow on. Only in this free-for-all battle would he have a chance to land the killing blow. If it was outside, there wouldn't be so many people with low health left for him to fight. Soon, Unlin discovered a senior who was low on health. He had rushed over after hearing the sounds of battle, and as soon as he arrived, he saw the senior who had just won the battle. Just like that, Unlin jumped out without any hesitation. After a brief self-introduction, he started chasing after that upperclassman and beating him up. That's right, he was chasing after him. The senior knew that he wasn't in a good state and was no match for Unlin, so he chose to run away. However, how could Unlin let such a juicy piece of meat escape from his grasp? He chased after him without hesitation. Hey! Eat my fist! Unlin caught up to the senior and threw a mountain-quaking fist. The mountain-quaking fist was very powerful, and it instantly blasted apart the immortal spell cast by the senior. Then, the residual force of the fist sent the senior flying. The senior spat out blood as he rolled on the ground, and a golden protective light began to appear around his body. A smug smile appeared on Unlin's face. Unlin F***CKU. Where's your integrity? The senior cursed loudly. He had never seen such a shameless person. Unlin was completely unmoved by his upperclassman's words. In order to complete this system's mission, he had already tossed aside all of his moral integrity. When the pitiful senior was teleported out, he began to check his system. Quest completion progress 1/10. Unlin nodded with satisfaction and continued his hunting. He felt that his luck was pretty good. Not far from the hill, he heard the sounds of fighting again. Unlin cautiously approached the place where the battle was taking place. The nearby heaven-earth yuan qi was violently surging, and waves of terrifying energy collided with each other, causing him to be extremely shocked. The two people fighting this time seemed a little strong. Unlin hid behind a huge rock and poked his head out, secretly peeking into the distance. When he saw the two fighting, he was dumbfounded. Binding of light. The pink-haired girl waved her staff and said in a melodious voice. A circular halo of light shot out from the staff in her hand. This halo of light was extremely fast, and it instantly trapped a red-skinned man inside. Roar! The man roared, and red flames erupted from his body as he tried to break free from the halo of light. The flames on his body soared into the sky and continued to spread. Even Unlin, who was watching the battle from behind the huge rock, could feel the waves of heat rushing toward him. The pink-haired girl stretched out her palms facing the man from afar. The six-feathered staff hovered in front of her and rotated rapidly, accumulating an extremely terrifying energy. My combo is invincible. Take this. Final spark. The girl shouted softly, and an extremely powerful beam of energy shot out from the staff. This beam of light was like a laser cannon, directly piercing over 100 meters, dispersing the red-skinned man's flames and penetrating his chest, leaving a long trench in the ground. After the red-skinned man was penetrated by the beam of light, he couldn't even speak. He vomited blood and fell to the ground. Immediately afterward, a golden protective barrier began to appear on his body. The red-skinned man had been defeated, but the pink-haired girl didn't show much joy on her face. She seemed to have thought of something, and she slapped her head in distress. I should have used Q. 3 skills in a row. Am I really still a lousy person? Unlin was extremely dumbfounded as he watched from the side. Such an intense scene made him immediately think of a game called League of Legends from Earth. The girl was extremely beautiful, and her graceful figure was adorned with extremely luxurious clothes. She had short pink hair, a pink and purple sailor suit, white stockings, and even held a six-feathered staff. This girl was cosplaying as Lux, the magical girl, right? No. She actually knew how to use skills like Binding of Light and Final Spark. This was already beyond the scope of cosplay. This was AF** king living, breathing magical girl. Unlin felt his throat go dry. He didn't want to pursue the matter of why such a strange girl would appear here anymore. He broke out in a cold sweat as he watched this battle. His only thought now was to leave this godforsaken place as soon as possible. Unlin still had some self-awareness. That terrifying pressure and that destructive power of the battle. This was definitely a battle between two spirit-nurturing stage cultivators. Faced with such an opponent, his chances of successfully landing the killing blow were infinitely close to zero. As the saying goes, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Moreover, this magical girl hadn't starved to death yet. She was still alive and kicking after the battle. Unlin gulped and concealed his aura. He stealthily moved into the distance, trying not to make a single sound. However, right at this moment, his body suddenly froze. It was as if his entire body had been bound by some kind of power. He was completely unable to move. It was a dazzling ring of light. It encircled Unlin's body and released an extremely powerful binding force. Crap, I've been discovered. A chill ran down Unlin's entire body. He sighed in his heart. What I was afraid of really happened. Haha, I was just fretting that there was no one for me to train my skills on, and now you've delivered yourself to my doorstep. The girl's elated voice sounded from behind Unlin. This time, I'm definitely going to unleash the complete triple combo. I can definitely do it. The girl's encouraging voice sounded from behind him again. Triple combo? Hearing this, Unlin's eyes welled up with tears. That red-skinned male of the spirit-nurturing stage was half dead after a single triple combo, and to deal with a puny cultivator of the 8th stage Dao body like me, she actually has to use such a cruel technique like triple combo? Unlin sniffled. His intuition told him that if he was hit by that final spark, he would definitely be screwed. Sure enough, there were less than 10 unlucky students who participated in the free-for-all battle event, and he was one of them. Chapter 24. When faced with a life-or-death situation, people would always unleash their limitless potential, and Unlin was no exception. When he sensed an extremely terrifying amount of energy converging behind him, he finally exploded. Spare me, magical girl. I'm just passing by. In the past, Unlin could only shout at a volume of 100 decibels. Now that he sensed the threat of death, he actually shouted at a volume of over 200 decibels. If this wasn't explosive, then what was? The young girl behind him exclaimed softly as the energy converging on her staff began to dissipate. It worked! Unlin couldn't help but exclaim in shock as he felt the pressure behind him disappear and the circle of light trapping him disappear. Soon, he felt someone poking him lightly from behind. He turned around to find that the extremely beautiful young girl had already flown in front of him and was sizing him up curiously. Who are you? How do you know that I'm a magical girl? The young girl sat sideways on her six-feathered staff and tilted her head slightly. A pair of beautiful purple eyes blinked at Unlin, appearing extremely curious. My name is Unlin, I'm from Earth. I saw a character in a game dressed very similar to you, so I shouted it out in a moment of desperation, Unlin replied honestly. Earth. The pink-haired young girl's eyes lit up, and she pointed at Unlin. I remember now, you're the most networked entrant in our academy, Unlin. Unlin scratched his head and chuckled. It was clear that he was very famous in the academy, even a magical girl knew his name. Although hearing this name made him want to cry, the young girl jumped down from her staff and walked toward Anlin with a grin. You also know how to play League of Legends, right? Anlin nodded. He often played with his classmates in school, and he had reached the brick rank in the ranking competition last season, so he could be considered an expert in that game. Ah, that's great. The young girl was very happy. Then, she took out a phone and handed it to Anlin. Anlin stared blankly at the pink phone in his hand. You don't know how to use a cell phone? The girl asked when she saw Anlin's confused expression. Yes, I know how to use it. Anlin reacted and started to turn it on. A cultivator handed him a cell phone. That scene was as weird as it could get. Anlin was puzzled. Speaking of which, why did you give me this phone? The girl took out another pink phone and said excitedly, Let's have a solo match in League of Legends. If you win, I'll let you go. Anlin's heart was like a stampede of 10,000 horses, and his 10,000 faces were dumbfounded. Speaking of which, is she really a cultivator? Could she be an internet addict who transmigrated from Earth? Also, what's the point of playing League of Legends on your phone? Are you sure this is League of Legends and not King of Glory? Also, can the cultivation world connect to the internet? I've never heard of that before. Anlin had a million complaints he wanted to spit out, but under the pressure of the magical girl, he could only forcefully suppress them. He silently clicked open the League of Legends icon on the phone. Sure enough, after entering the game, he was greeted by the interface of King of Glory. His character's name was Cute Little Apple. After logging into the game, a window popped up on his interface. Cute Little Apple has sent you a solo match invitation. This message was clearly sent by the young girl. This phone really can connect to the internet? Anlin was extremely astonished. He clicked Accept and entered the Hero Selection interface. After entering the Hero Selection interface, he was dumbfounded. Holy F***ck, why are all the heroes in King of Glory characters from League of Legends? Right at this moment, the pink-haired girl leaned against Anlin and said in a sweet voice, The array formation on these two phones can only transmit information over a limited distance. Come, let's get closer. The signal will be better that way. Anlin. This is indeed a phone that has been magically modified, and this game has also been magically modified. Her talent is far beyond my imagination. Should I praise her as a genius? Anlin chose the crafty enchantress hero. He originally wanted to choose Rue, that was the hero he was best at, but he really didn't know how to play the mobile version of Lightspeed QA. After both sides chose their heroes, the solo match that would decide Anlin's life and death finally began. The two sat together on a huge rock, staring at the phone's screen nervously, their fingers flying across the screen. The young girl chose Lux and even used the magical girl's skin. It seemed like she really liked this image. Anlin thought that if the two of them were to play this solo match using the computer, the young girl would use Lux, and he would use Enchantress. Then, even if the young girl was at King of Glory level, he would still be confident that he could defeat her. This was a complete suppression of the hero. But now, the mobile version of League of Legends. Anlin really didn't dare to casually raise flags. Fortunately, the skills in this game hadn't changed. It was still the same 2 summoner skills and 4 hero skills, but all of them had been manually cast. The young girl's solo rule was, whoever broke the opponent's big crystal would be the winner. This rule determined that this match would be a long battle of attrition. But Anlin still wouldn't forget to accumulate an advantage in the early stages. Anlin played for a minute or two and started to get used to it. This wasn't much different from King of Glory's controls. After leveling up to level 2, he planned to use Crafty Enchantress to exhaust a wave. The young girl's E-skill, Lady of Radiance, was thrown very askew. The translucent singularity exploded behind Crafty Enchantress and missed. Then, Lady of Radiance was hit by Crafty Enchantress's QW combo, consuming 1/3 of her health. Unlin happily controlled crafty enchantress to dodge backward. While casting, he was only hit by a normal attack from Lady of Radiance. He smiled faintly and looked at his health. He had only lost 1/3 of his health. 1/3 of his health? Unlin, wait, am I seeing things? Why do I only have 2/3 of my health left? Unlin blinked, a little dazed. At this time, he was accidentally attacked by Lady of Radiance, and his health dropped to 1/3. A frightening thought came to Unlin's mind. His fingers trembled as he clicked on Lady of Radiance's stats. He looked at them nervously. Adoran Ring of Radiance's stats were as follows: Attack Power, 65 plus 150 Spell Strength, 25 plus 150. Unlin silently closed the stats window. His eyes were moist as he looked at the young girl beside him, who was immersed in the game in high spirits. At this time, his crafty enchantress was hit by Lady of Radiance's normal attack. First blood. The system's voice was loud and clear. Yay! Lady of Radiance raised her hands and shouted excitedly. Then, she noticed Unlin's gaze and turned her head. Hey, why are you looking at me? Although I'm as beautiful as a flower, please focus on this game. It's not good to be distracted. I want a fair duel. A fair duel? Unlin's lips trembled. Finally, he mustered up his courage and asked, I have a question. Why does your Lady of Radiance's stats increase? Oh, you mean that? Lady of Radiance giggled and explained, I really like the Lady of Radiance, so I used the skill God's blessing on her. In response to this nonsensical answer, Unlin nodded solemnly and returned to the game. He had already understood the meaning of that sentence. The young girl's meaning was, I'm using cheats, so what can you do about it? Chapter 25. How infuriating, but he still had to maintain his smile. After all, the magical girl Lux in the game only had a few bonus stat, and the real magical girl sitting next to Unlin could casually throw out a final spark and blast him to smithereens. How to defeat a cheat-like opponent in the game. Unlin's answer was to defeat her with godly skills. Unlin had already discovered that this girl was truly a player with terrible hand. Her skills were so crooked that he couldn't bear to look at them, and her damage output was completely dependent on normal attacks. Although her normal attacks were also quite terrifying, it at least gave Unlin a glimmer of hope for victory. After crafty Enchantress resurrected, he bought equipment for all damage output and left. He planned to use a set of combos to send the magical girl home when he reached level 6. Unlin didn't fight her head-on anymore. He would use sneaky finishing moves to develop, and then slowly level up. Finally, his crafty Enchantress reached level 6. This was the crafty Enchantress before it was modified, so he chose the QEWR combo that dealt the most damage. Crafty Enchantress found an angle, and after dodging Lux's fetters of light, she closed the distance between them and immediately used Baleful Sigil and Phantom Chains. Almost at the same time, she also used Phantom Footprints and the same old trick. All 4 skills hit. Unlin's movements were smooth and fluid. The magical girl didn't even have time to use a defensive skill like Curved Light Barrier before she was killed. The girl saw the screen turn black and pouted. She looked at Unlin with hidden bitterness and muttered, Just you wait, I'll get revenge. After Unlin succeeded in one move, his confidence was rekindled. After returning to the city, he continued to buy equipment that increased the strength of his spells. Next, he just had to wait for his skills to cool down, dodge her skills, and then continue what he had just done. Steady, I can win. Lux's Binding of Light and Translucent Singularity did not hit crafty Enchantress even once. Half of this was due to Unlin's good control and fancy positioning, the other half was due to the Radiant Maiden's terrible hands. Unlin's ultimate skills cooldown was almost up. The true Magus girl was anxious. As time ticked by, she finally seemed to have made up her mind and moved her finger to the button for the big move. My light shall banish all shadows and illuminate all enemies. The pink-haired girl suddenly uttered a line from a Chunibu. Then, she pressed her hand on the ultimate skill icon. Whoosh! A pink beam of light shot towards Enlin's crafty enchantress. It was Final Spark. Directly go all out? Enlin's eyelids twitched. He immediately used Devil Shadow Footprints to move crafty enchantress to the side. The Radiant Girl's Final Spark had a moment's delay between when it was cast and when it dealt damage. Fortunately, Enlin's hand speed was fast enough to dodge this powerful attack in time. However, this girl was really impatient. Directly using a big move like this, the hit rate was actually not high. Had she been forced to the point of losing her rationality? Enlin heaved a sigh of relief and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. In any case, this was a close shave. Moreover, wasn't it a good thing for him that the enemy had lost her rationality? Then, a boom 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 sound came from his phone. Is this the sound effect of this ultimate skill? Enlin looked at his phone screen and then discovered that his 3 defense towers had been hit by this final spark. They all exploded. He was once again dumbfounded. He looked at the girl beside him and could not help but ask, "May I ask, what's with this skill?" This is Final Spark," the girl replied without even raising her head. "Final Spark? Whose Final Spark can blow up 3 towers in one shot?" Enlin was finally angry. Lux could use an ultimate skill to instantly destroy the towers. How could he still play? Even if you're using cheats, please have some integrity. When the girl heard Enlin's dissatisfied tone, she did not get angry. Instead, she explained seriously, "Look, Lux's ultimate skill is called Final Spark. As the name implies, it's the strongest light wave. Since it's the strongest light wave, if it hits the defense towers, wouldn't it be illogical for the defense towers to not be damaged? So, I made some small changes to make this skill more logical and scientific." When Enlin heard this explanation, he felt as if 10,000 alpacas were running over his heart. Logical your sister. Scientific your sister. This final spark had already become a skill that could destroy the heavens, the earth, and the air. How could this be called logical? Enlin really wanted to smash his phone, but he was no match for the real magical girl. If he smashed his phone, what awaited him would be a real-life version of Final Spark. Enlin finally repressed his urge at the thought of the terrifying consequences that would ensue. Finally, under Enlin's persistent struggle, he lasted a whole 5 minutes. The magical girl's Final Spark destroyed Enlin's base crystal and ended the battle. Enlin's eyes were a little moist. He stared at the word "failure" on his phone screen and remained silent for a long time. What a hearty battle! The young girl stretched herself, her slender waist slightly straightened, and a satisfied smile appeared on her face. To his heart's content? Enlin silently moved his hand to the report button on his phone screen. Then he realized that there was no GM in this damned game. Even if there was one, the GM would be the girl next to him. When he thought of this, he could only faintly sigh and prepare to accept the final punishment. "Hey, why are you so gloomy?" The girl saw Enlin's worried expression and asked with some confusion. Enlin rolled his eyes at her. Could it be that he was going to be the one getting pummeled by her with a smile on his face? The young woman finally came to her senses and understood why Enlin was wearing such an expression. She clapped her hands and said with a smile, "Well, I've changed my mind. Although you lost to me in the game, I've decided not to use you to practice my moves." Enlin's eyes lit up and he said joyfully, "Really? Really?" The girl nodded seriously. "But I have a condition." "What condition?" In fact, as long as the girl promised not to use Final Spark in real life, Enlin would grit his teeth and agree even if there were 10 conditions. "Stay here and play games with me." The girl's beautiful purple eyes curved into a crescent moon, and she seemed extremely excited. "Enlin, my best friends are all lousy, they can't even last 5 minutes against me. Only you can last for 10 minutes. This is what it feels like to be evenly matched," the girl continued. Enlin's lips twitched upon hearing this. "Trust me, if you don't use cheats, you'll suddenly find many evenly matched opponents. Then how long do I have to play games with you? Unlin still had to find 9 people to finish him off. He couldn't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The girl stroked her elegant chin with a thoughtful expression. After a while, she said, I'll let you go as long as you can beat me once. Unlin's vision darkened, and he roared in his heart. This is King going to play until the end of time. However, soon, a thought suddenly appeared in his mind. Unlin's heart stirred, and he said, I can play with you, but can you accept a condition of mine? The girl raised an eyebrow. Tell me. We have to play games at the top of Black Rock Peak. Due to a special reason, I have to stay there for a day, Unlin said. Chapter 26. The young girl readily agreed to Unlin's request. Playing games on the top of the Black Rock Peak felt like a duel between 2 powerful cultivators. The young girl liked this feeling very much. Just like that, the young girl hovered her 6-feathered staff in the air. Immediately afterward, a pink, streamlined screen of light appeared around the staff. This was the light evasion technique for sword kinesis flight. The pink, streamlined screen of light had the effect of stabilizing the body of the cultivator and providing protection from the wind and sun. This was also a spell technique that could only be mastered by cultivators of the spirit-nurturing stage. Seeing the young girl wave at him, Unlin stepped onto the staff nervously. Sword kinesis flight. To be honest, he was a little looking forward to it. This is my first time, be gentle, Unlin said timidly. Ha ha ha, don't worry, baby, I'll be very gentle, the young girl replied heartlessly with a smile on her face. Then, she purposely cancelled the wind protection function of the light evasion technique. The 6-feathered staff vibrated for a while, then shot into the sky like a rocket. Ah! The 6-feathered staff flew extremely quickly, and the wind howled around it. Standing on the staff, Unlin screamed in fright. Almost instinctively, he wrapped his arms around the slender and soft waist of the young sorceress in front of him. Slap! A slap flew over, and the young girl yelled, "Pervert!" Unlin let go of her with tears in his eyes. The speed of the staff's flight was almost at the speed of sound. How could he not panic? His heart was about to jump out of his chest. Looking down, the terrifying height scared him so much that his legs turned to jelly. Sword kinesis flight is so scary, sword kinesis flight is so scary, Unlin felt a little dizzy from flying on a sword. Above the barrier, Madagascar fell silent as he watched Unlin and the young girl fly further and further away. Is this what it means to fly together? I feel like these two are a little different. She looked at the notebook in her hand, which recorded the data of each student. Unlin's data had changed slightly. Unlin, combat capability, 120, achievement score, 150 Lu Qianhuan, combat capability, 850, achievement, 300. I think Lu Qianhuan was ranked 4th on the heaven roll last time. If it weren't for the fact that she's so obsessed, she could actually fight for the top 3. Forget it. As long as the two of them don't team up to bully others, it won't be considered a violation of the rules. I can't be bothered with this matter. They're about to fly out of my jurisdiction. Let's share this data with the other teachers first. Madagascar was very busy. She used her spiritual consciousness to observe more than a dozen battles on the battlefield at the same time, so when Unlin and the others flew away, she no longer paid attention to them. During this period of time, she had paid special attention to Unlin. In fact, she had gained a lot, so she was very satisfied. She had a good idea in her mind. She just had to go back and apply to the school to implement it. While flying, Unlin learned the real magical girl's name. Her name was Lu Qianhuan, and she was a third-year student from Class 1. At the same time, she was also very knowledgeable in the mortal world. She was extremely fond of the entertainment culture of the mortal world, especially esports games. Unlin could deeply understand this hobby from her mobile version of League of Legends. Look, the Black Rock Peak is right ahead, Lu Qianhuan shouted excitedly. Saying this, she increased the speed of her sword kinesis flight by another level. Unlin gazed at the pitch-black peak that was 100 meters tall in front of him. Hot tears welled up in his eyes, and he sighed in his heart that they had finally arrived. After this terrible first experience of flying on a sword kinesis flight, he felt that he had already completely developed acrophobia and tachyphobia. There was a flat area about 15 feet wide at the top of the black rock peak. Its surface was smooth and flat as if it had been flattened by a sharp weapon. Unlin and Lu Qianhuan landed on the peak, only to find that there was already a man meditating there. "Is he a spirit-nurturing stage cultivator?" Unlin asked the young girl beside him nervously as he tidied up his hair that had been blown into a stylish hairstyle by the fierce winds. Logically speaking, only cultivators of the spirit-nurturing stage would have the ability to reach this peak. However, Unlin sensed the aura of an 8th stage Dao body from that person, which was why he asked this question. Lu Qianhuan shook her head and said, "He only has a cultivation base of the 8th stage Dao body." "That's strange, I feel like I've seen him somewhere before." Right at this moment, the man who was meditating opened his eyes and looked toward Unlin and Lu Qianhuan. His appearance was that of a 14 or 15-year-old youth. His features were extremely delicate and his eyes were extremely pure. The youth stood up, raised his hands horizontally, and saluted to Unlin and Lu Qianhuan. Seeing this, Unlin also returned the salute. For some reason, he couldn't muster up the slightest bit of hostility toward this youth. The youth's expression was indifferent, and he said gently, "Please don't hit me, I'll leave right away." Unlin, Lu Qianhuan. Immediately afterward, the youth took out a thick bundle of rope and wrapped it around the white pole that he had materialized using an immortal spell. The white pole pierced into the ground, and then he slowly slid down the mountain while holding onto the rope. Unlin and Lu Qianhuan fell silent as they watched the youth's indifferent figure disappear into the distance. "I feel like he's very strange," Unlin said after a long while. Lu Qianhuan nodded in agreement. Just the fact that an 8th stage Dao body could come meditate on the Black Rock Peak was already very strange. At the foot of the Black Rock Peak, the youth raised his head to look at the peak and sighed regretfully. "How unlucky, it took me so much effort to find such a peaceful place." Right at this moment, an extremely beautiful girl holding a flaming longsword appeared in front of him. "First year, Class 1, Su Xiaolan, please enlighten me." The youth was momentarily dazed, then a bitter expression appeared on his face. "Fifth year, Class 1, Chen Chen. Say, junior student Su Xiaolan, can you let me go? I want to farm achievement points, so I'm sorry, Senior Chen Chen." After saying this, Su Xiaolan mercilessly slashed at Chen Chen with the flaming longsword in her hand. Scorching hot flaming sword radiance gushed out from the sword and instantly cleaved Chen Chen into two halves. After that, Chen Chen's body, which had been split in half, turned into white mist and dissipated in front of her. Su Xiaolan was startled by the scene before her eyes. The youth's figure and aura had completely disappeared, as if he had never been there in the first place. That's strange, could it be some kind of miraculous escape technique? Su Xiaolan was perplexed. That youth was only of the 8th stage Dao body, yet he was able to escape from her without making a sound. This was far too unrealistic. Behind a mountain peak 1,000 feet away from Su Xiaolan, a white mist suddenly appeared. Then, Chen Chen's figure slowly walked out from the white mist. "Sigh, I've wasted some vital energy again. How unlucky." Chen Chen sighed faintly. Above the barrier, an elder sitting on a gourd narrowed his eyes and looked curiously at the youth below. Chen Chen's data was recorded in his notebook. Chen Chen, combat capability? Achievement points, 0 Su Xiaolan combat capability, 260 achievement points, 160-inch. Speaking of which, Chen Chen was of the 8th stage Dao body when he first entered the university. It's been almost 5 years now, and he's still of the 8th stage Dao body. Moreover, He's participated in quite a few free-for-all battles and hasn't been involved in a single battle. Even when spirit-nurturing stage students come looking for trouble, he can still easily escape. Not taking into account other things, his escape skills are already top-notch. The elder nodded silently. As expected of students who were chosen by a true god, every single one of them was so interesting. Among the 50,000 new students in the university, only 5 had a letter of recommendation from a true god. Apart from the 3 first-year students, one of them was already at the top of the Immortal Rankings board, and the last one was Chun Chun. I really hope that you can fight just once. Don't tell me you're just going to graduate in obscurity like this? The old man looked down at Chun Chun with anticipation as he spoke in a low voice. Chapter 27. Unlin arrived at the summit of the Black Rock Peak as he wished. He only needed to meditate for a day, and he would be able to master the Earth Lotus Supreme skill. Lu Qianhuan wanted to play games with him at the summit. Theoretically speaking, he didn't have the time to meditate. But don't forget, Unlin had invented a method to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth while squatting down to meditate. This was actually a cultivation method that allowed one to multitask. Squatting down while cultivating was considered multitasking, and playing games while cultivating was also considered multitasking. As long as the environment was peaceful enough, and as long as he had enough stamina, it wouldn't be difficult for him to circulate this cultivation method. Just like that, Unlin began his leisurely life of playing games while absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. He could see the progress bar of the Earth Lotus Supreme skill on the system. As time passed, it slowly increased. As long as the progress bar was full, then his Earth Lotus Supreme skill would successfully break through to the first stage. During the breathing process, apart from the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, he could also feel a strange energy slowly flowing into his body from the summit of the Black Rock Peak, continuously tempering his body. Ah, this feels so good. Unlin looked up at the sky and sighed in his mind. Then, he selected Lux on his phone. He wanted to see if the Lux on this phone could destroy 3 defense towers with a single final spark. Unfortunately, that skill seemed to be exclusive to the real young sorceress. Unlin's inferior version of Lux was brutally trampled, and the battle ended 8 minutes into the game. Then, he accepted reality and began to choose heroes with high burst damage. Every round, he would try to send the young sorceress home a few more times. That way, he would be able to struggle at death's door a little longer. Thus, every time the game ended, Unlin would be able to kill her more than 10 times, and the game would also drag on for more than 10 minutes. Lu Qianhuan was always insta-killed by Unlin in the game, so she was a little unhappy. She puffed up her cheeks and looked at Unlin pitifully. Her pretty face was slightly flushed, and she looked extremely adorable. Seeing this, Unlin decided to let her have her way. After all, winning or losing had no effect on him. However, before he could do that, Lu Qianhuan had already spoken. "Wait for me, I'm going to update a game." Update the game? Unlin blinked his eyes, unable to wrap his head around it. After saying this, Lu Qianhuan tapped open an interface on her phone. Then, her jade-like fingers danced over her phone like a butterfly, leaving a series of afterimages in her wake. Seeing this scene, Unlin was shocked. Holy sh*t. His hand speed must have reached 200. No, it might already be 300. Was this still the lousy magical girl I knew? Her hand speed had already crushed a pro player's. Moreover, her phone's interface was a series of codes. Was she programming? Are they really manually updating the game? After a while, Lu Qianhuan's hand stopped moving. Phew, success, she said happily, then rubbed her slender fingers, looking a little tired. Unlin was already numb from watching. If a programmer were to see the scene of her programming on the spot, he would be scared to tears. Lu Qianhuan shared a file with Unlin for him to update. After updating, the two of them started playing the mobile version of League of Legends again. This time, she chose Garen. She was probably planning on using tanky equipment to increase her defense so that she wouldn't be insta-killed by Enlin again. Enlin was a little surprised. She didn't choose Lux, the magical girl. This seemed to be the first time she had used another game character. At this time, Enlin had already chosen Master of Shadows. It was also an assassin-type hero with high burst damage. Master of Shadows went out, and then it saw Garen wielding a 40-meter-long sword. This Garen went out with a red crystal, then stood under its own defensive tower and continuously swung its sword at the enemy's defensive tower. Everyone says that Garen's sword is 40 meters long, Lu Qianhuan explained with a satisfied expression. As expected, this is more realistic. Enlin grimaced. How the F***ck was he supposed to play this game? He had finally reached level 6, so he went home to buy equipment that would increase his damage output. He was planning on fighting to the death. Right at this moment, Lu Qianhuan did her own voiceover and yelled, "Demacia!" Then, a 40-meter-long golden sword descended from the sky and slashed toward Master of Shadows. The phone screen flashed with a golden light. After the golden light faded, the screen turned black. The poor Master of Shadows died on the spot while he was buying equipment at the base. This is called a flying sword. It can behead an enemy general from thousands of kilometers away. Lu Qianhuan explained. Enlin nodded with a solemn expression. For a sword that's 40 meters long, the range of a powerful technique should be longer, and the power should also be more powerful. Lu Qianhuan, your changes are very reasonable. Lu Qianhuan's purple eyes lit up with joy. Not bad, you know me well. Finally, the game ended. Enlin's stats: 0 kills, 12 death. He felt that this was the worst stats he had ever had since playing League of Legends. No, he refused to admit that this was League of Legends. Even though he was piking with Lu Qianhuan, he felt that they were definitely playing a different game. Not only did Enlin's opponent know how to use cheats, but she also knew how to create cheats in real time. Night slowly fell, and Lu Qianhuan pulled out a luminous magic tool. This magic tool was in the shape of a disc and emitted a gentle white glow. There were also bursts of warm air around it to ward off the cold. Then, the two of them started playing again. Enlin's current record was 50 losses and 0 wins. He was already numb to the losses and was trampled on by Lu Qianhuan in all sorts of ways. At the summit of the mountain, one could clearly see the countless stars in the night sky. The full moon hung in the sky. It looked very large, as if it were very close to them. The sound of explosions occasionally rang out from the ground in the distance. There were also colorful immortal spells that appeared from time to time, illuminating the pitch-black night scenery. Enlin and Lu Qianhuan played their game leisurely on the summit of the mountain. Compared to the other students participating in the free-for-all battle, their style was clearly different. At Enlin's cultivation base, his constitution was already extremely powerful. Pulling an all-nighter for 1 or 2 nights wouldn't affect him much. Then, he was dragged by Lu Qianhuan to play an all-nighter. At noon the next day, a faint golden light suddenly appeared all over Enlin's body. Immediately afterward, countless golden veined patterns appeared on his skin. These veined patterns formed an extremely mysterious pattern. After a short while, these veined patterns and golden light began to disappear. However, Lu Qianhuan had seen all of this. "Oh my God, did you achieve enlightenment while playing the game? Great God! How did you do it?" Lu Qianhuan was astonished. Her purple eyes blinked as she looked at Enlin, and it was as if stars were about to appear in them. Enlin really didn't know how to answer her off-topic question. His Earth Lotus Supreme skill had just reached the first stage. Countless pieces of information regarding the Earth Lotus Supreme skill began to flow into his mind. This was a cultivation method that fused with the power of the Earth. In the early stages of cultivation, it could strengthen one's body in all aspects. It could also enhance the power of Earth-type immortal spells. For example, the system had notified that the power of Enlin's mountain quaking fist had been doubled. I can feel that your body has become much stronger, and the aura within your body has also become much more powerful. Lu Qianhuan's eyes became brighter and brighter. She grabbed onto Enlin's hand and said excitedly, "Can you teach me a cultivation method that can make me stronger by playing games?" If she could learn this cultivation method, then she wouldn't have to abandon her cultivation because she was addicted to games. This was a cultivation method that she wanted to learn even in her dreams. Enlin was exasperated. How could he possibly know a cultivation method that could make him stronger by playing games? However, he suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Ahem. I have a cultivation method that can allow you to absorb the vital energy of heaven and earth while playing games. Do you want to learn it? Enlin asked. Of course. Of course. Lu Qianhuan replied without hesitation. But I have a condition. That is, after I teach you this cultivation method, you have to let me go. Enlin continued. He still had a mission from the system to complete, so he couldn't stay here and play games for 3 days straight. A hint of hesitation appeared on Lu Qianhuan's face, but in the end she still agreed to Enlin's condition. Between a fish and a bear's paw, the bear's paw was more important. At most, she could use the bear's paw to catch the fish, Enlin, in the future. Chapter 28. On the summit of the Black Rock Peak, Enlin taught Lu Qianhuan the multitasking breathing technique. After learning it, Lu Qianhuan sent Enlin back to the surface with a satisfied expression. Then, she flew away to find someone else to practice her techniques with. After regaining his freedom, Enlin was in an extremely good mood. Once again, he set out on the path of hunting severely wounded enemies. His Earth Lotus Supreme skill had already reached the first stage, and his strength had improved by quite a bit. However, he still didn't have a concrete idea of just how strong he had become. He needed to find someone to spar with in order to find out. Students who could attend this school were all outstanding talents among their peers. The cultivation methods they cultivated were also definitely top-notch cultivation methods in the cultivation world. Thus, even though Enlin had learned the Earth Lotus Supreme skill, he still didn't have the confidence to fight someone of the same rank as him. I hope I can encounter someone of a lower rank than me this time so I can familiarize myself with my strength. As Enlin thought this, he encountered someone he was very familiar with. His name was Wei Ji and he was Enlin's classmate. He was of the 9th stage Dao body. Wei Ji's expression also faltered slightly when he encountered Enlin. Clearly, he didn't expect to encounter him here. This piece of trash actually lasted until the 2nd day? Wei Ji was extremely surprised, and he sized up Enlin from head to toe. He actually looked down on Enlin very much. However, his good upbringing made him adept at hiding his emotions, and he wouldn't easily reveal his disgust. But since he's already appeared in front of me, then I'll just get rid of this piece of trash first. Wei Ji sneered in his heart, but his expression was gentle. He made an inviting gesture and said, "Student Enlin, please enlighten me." Seeing that Wei Ji's aura had completely erupted, Enlin knew that he couldn't avoid this battle. He was very depressed. Why was it that when he wanted to encounter an enemy of the 7th stage Dao body, a 9th stage Dao body opponent appeared? However, since I can't avoid this, then I'll fight. Student Wei Ji, please enlighten me. The image of a golden lotus flower appeared on Enlin's forehead. His aura also changed completely at that moment, becoming as steady as a mountain, as if no power could shake him. Strong winds howled around Wei Ji. His entire body formed a wind armor, and a white light appeared on his fist. It was the white light produced by the rapid compression of the air. Whoosh! Wei Ji made his move. His speed was extremely fast, and in an instant, he was in front of Enlin. A pair of fists that emitted white light smashed mercilessly at Enlin. From the very beginning, he used the ultimate move that he was so proud of, Air Explosion Fist. The white light on the fist would explode the moment it touched Enlin's body. The power of this air explosion could directly blast boulders into smithereens. Wei Ji was confident that if Enlin was outside the enchantment and was struck head-on by this move, he would be dead for sure. Now that he had the golden barrier of the defeat judgment talisman, whether this move would severely injure or cripple Enlin was no longer up to him. Wei Ji sneered. Don't blame me for being ruthless. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being too weak. Facing Wei Ji's fist, Enlin also threw out a punch. Mountain quaking fist. A golden fist about 3 meters in size appeared on his fist. The golden lotus on his forehead rotated, and a wisp of power of the earth flowed into the golden fist unknowingly. Then, a qualitative change occurred. Seeing the immortal technique that Enlin used, Wei Ji's expression changed slightly. However, his fist didn't slow down at all, and it continued to strike the golden fist. He thought to himself, that's just a third-rate immortal technique. Watch me break it with one punch. Boom! The two fists collided and the white light exploded. The powerful energy exploded, causing the ground within a radius of 3 meters to crack. At the center of the explosion, the ground caved in completely. Wei Ji had initially thought that his fist would be able to shatter the golden fist and severely injure Enlin. However, after the energy exploded, the golden fist didn't dissipate. Instead, its luster dimmed a little. Then, the fist broke through his armor of wind and directly hit his body. Boom! Wei Ji felt as if his body had been smashed by a mountain. A boundless force tore his body apart. He spat out a mouthful of blood and tumbled to the ground. His eyes rolled back and he almost fainted. Enlin stood on the spot and panted heavily. He stared at the scene in front of him with a shocked expression. The ground caved in, and the heavily injured Wei Ji vomiting blood. Holy F***ck, my mountain-quaking fist has become so powerful? Wei Ji is a powerful cultivator of the 9th stage Tao body, and I knocked him out with a single punch? This power is more than twice what the system said, right? Wei Ji shakily crawled up from the ground. Blood was still flowing from the corner of his mouth, and it was clear that his internal organs had been injured. The expression on his face was even more shocked. He looked at Enlin as if he had seen a ghost. Impossible, impossible. Weren't you at the 0th stage Tao body when you first entered the academy? Wei Ji stared at Enlin, his lips trembling. That's right. Enlin nodded. After a few months of cultivation, I've already reached the 8th stage Tao body, he said honestly. Wei Ji was dumbstruck. It was as if he had swallowed a fly. Impossible. You've only used a few months to reach the 8th stage? What a joke. You must have used some unknown method. You must have cheated. When you fought against me, you definitely used some high-grade talisman against the rules. You cheated. Wei Ji flew into a rage. He couldn't accept the fact that he had been beaten to the ground by Enlin. Enlin's expression darkened. He wasn't a saint, so he naturally wasn't in a good mood after being called cheated by someone else. Wei Ji roared angrily and attacked Enlin again. He was severely injured now, so his speed was much slower than before. Blades of wind revolved around Wei Ji's fist. Every punch was accompanied by a sonic boom, and its power was extremely powerful. Enlin's close-quarters combat techniques weren't as exquisite as Wei Ji's. Thus, he accidentally took a few punches from Wei Ji during the fight. Every time Wei Ji's punches landed on Enlin's body, his fists would go numb from the powerful rebounding force. It was as if he had punched a steel plate. However, Enlin was only pushed back a few steps by the powerful rebounding force. His expression didn't change in the slightest, and it was as if he was completely unharmed. Seeing this, Wei Ji was astonished once again. What's wrong with his body? Why is it so hard? My fists can even shatter rock. Why isn't he injured when I hit him? There must be something wrong with you. Tell me, what did you do? Wei Ji's attacks became even more violent. His eyes were bloodshot, and he used all his strength in every strike. And Lin sighed softly as he looked at the crazed Wei Ji. Then, he punched out. Mountain quaking fist. The golden fist light enveloped Wei Ji's entire body. That aura that was like a huge mountain crushing down on him caused a look of despair to appear on his face. Ah! Wei Ji shouted in despair. His body was hit by the golden fist again. The terrifying force landed on his body and directly triggered the defeat judgment seal. He vomited blood again and rolled on the ground. His entire body was trembling, and he looked at the protective golden light on his body in disbelief. I've lost? I've actually lost? Wei Ji didn't expect that he would actually lose to Enlin. He had lost to the person he viewed as trash. He knew clearly that if it weren't for that golden light, he might not even have been able to keep his life. Even so, he still couldn't accept the fact that he had lost to Enlin. Enlin came to Wei Ji's side. Now that things had developed to this stage, he finally understood why Wei Ji was so crazy. The more he was defeated by someone he looked down on, the crazier he would become. I'm sorry. I've hurt your fragile heart. Enlin had a disdainful smile on his face. However, there's something I still have to say. To be defeated by someone who has only cultivated for a few months. Student Wei Ji, you've really wasted the past 10 years. Hearing this, Wei Ji's eyes widened. He felt a wave of discomfort in his blood flow, and he vomited another mouthful of blood. Then, his eyes rolled back and he fainted completely. Chapter 29. Above the spell formation, an immortal sitting on a gourd witnessed the entire process of Enlin's battle. Tisk, tsk. I told you guys with a true god's letter of recommendation aren't easy to deal with. This Enlin seems to have only started cultivating for 4 months, how terrifying! The elder shook his head and stroked his white beard. He held a brush in his right hand and wrote some numbers in the air. The black lines floated in the void, forming words. Enlin's numbers changed again. Enlin, combat capability. 180, achievement score. 190. Generally speaking, students of the 10th stage Tao body had a combat capability of around 200. However, Enlin's combat capability had reached 180. This meant that the elder had already classified his strength as close to the 10th stage Tao body. Enlin was able to defeat Wei Ji, who was of the 9th stage Tao body, unscathed. This was sufficient proof of his strength. In particular, his mountain-quaking fist contained an aura that was compatible with the great Tao. This caused the elder to gasp in amazement and added a lot of points to his combat capability. Enlin continued his hunt. After his battle with Wei Ji, he was much more confident. At least when he encountered enemies of the 9th stage Tao body, he wouldn't have to be afraid anymore. He would rush forward and attack them. Just like that, night slowly descended. Today was a very smooth day for Enlin. During this period of time, he had defeated another 6 enemies of the 9th stage Tao body. He was now only 2 away from defeating 10 enemies of a higher rank than him. He planned to hunt again at night and try to increase his rank to the 9th stage Tao body as soon as possible. In the latter half of the free-for-all battle, students below the 8th stage Tao body had basically been eliminated. The remaining students were all extremely powerful prodigies. If he didn't rank up quickly enough, he might not even be able to defeat a single enemy. Enlin used a fire control spell to roast a groundhog. After wolfing it down, he sat down and began to meditate. The night in the forest of 1,000 peaks was very quiet, so once the battle became intense, the sound would travel very far, and the light effects of immortal techniques would also be extremely conspicuous in the night. At that time, the place where the battle broke out might attract other students, and then it would be an exciting series of battles. Unknowingly, an hour had passed. Boom! Not far from where Enlin was meditating, an explosion suddenly rang out. The flames were like the brightest beacon in the dark night, announcing that a battle had begun. Enlin opened his eyes with an excited look on his face. He had basically recovered all the energy he had consumed today. It was time to act. By the time Enlin arrived at the scene of the battle, it had already come to an end. A man was lying on the ground, covered in wounds. His entire body was emitting a protective golden light. Beside him was a white-furred dog. Zhao Huayin! Enlin exclaimed when he saw him. The man lying on the ground was none other than Zhao Huayin. Even though he had been beaten beyond recognition, the dog beside him was very recognizable. Zhao Huayin was also extremely surprised to see Enlin. He didn't think that Enlin would be able to escape even after being surrounded by so many brawny men. And he had survived until the second day. Enlin, you have to live on. Your opponent is very terrifying, and I won't be able to save you. Zhao Huayin bade farewell with tears in his eyes before disappearing amid a flash of golden light. Enlin, the scene of Zhao Huayin fleeing for his life was still vivid in his mind. Enlin knew that if Zhao Huayin were still alive, he would definitely be the fastest to escape. Woof woof! Dabai charged toward the man in grief and indignation. It opened its mouth and leaped high into the air, pouncing toward the man. At this critical moment, Dabai was still very loyal. When its master was beaten, the pet would go on a rampage for revenge. Then, it was sent flying over 100 meters by the man's kick. Its body crashed into a huge rock like a cannonball, shattering the rock. Humph! You want to take advantage of this situation to attack me? Even if I'm injured, I'm still a 10th stage Dao body cultivator. The man spat out a mouthful of blood with a disdainful expression. Enlin's expression froze. The man in front of him was covered in wounds, but his aura was extremely vast. Clearly, he wasn't someone that Zhao Huayin could deal with. It looked like a battle had already erupted here before Zhao Huayin arrived. After the battle ended, Zhao Huayin most likely wanted to land the killing blow. However, to his surprise, the injured man was still very powerful, which led to the previous scene. Enlin ran to Dabai's side and examined its injuries. Dabai's aura was weak and its entire body was covered in wounds. It looked like it couldn't move anymore. What a heavy blow! Also, this Dabai didn't have a defeat judgment seal. If it wasn't for the fact that it had a special constitution, perhaps that kick would have taken its life. The man walked over slowly. A cold smile appeared on his face when he saw Enlin. F***ck off, I'll deal with you after I slaughter this dog. Enlin took a deep breath and stood up slowly. He stood in front of Dabai and didn't budge an inch. Seeing this, the man's expression faltered slightly. Then, a cruel smile appeared on his face. All right, since you want to die quickly, I'll fulfill your wish. First year, Class 1, Enlin. Please enlighten me. Enlin said coldly. You're that most backdoor entrant, Enlin? The man's interest was instantly piqued. He sized up Enlin and nodded slightly. Yes, you're not as useless as the rumors say. At least you still have the guts to face me. Enlin grinned. Not only do I have the guts to face you, but I can also beat you back into your mother's arms. It had to be said that he was very good at goading people. After the man heard this, the veins on his face bulged. He was enraged. How dare you? Second year, Class 1, Zhang Chen. Please enlighten me. After the man finished speaking, the aura around his body started to explode. This aura was the most oppressive aura that Enlin had ever faced. He didn't say anything and directly struck out with the mountain-quaking fist. A golden fist of 10 feet shot towards Zhang Chen. He felt the terrifying power contained in the golden fist and his heart trembled. He immediately took out a crimson shield from his storage ring and placed it in front of him. Boom! The might of the golden fist burst out, causing Zhang Chen to retreat 10 feet away, creating a deep gully on the ground. The crimson shield shattered into pieces, and Zhang Chen's hands were split open by the huge force from the shield. Zhang Chen stared at Enlin with a grave expression. He was already extremely shocked in his heart. The fearsomeness of this immortal spell had already far exceeded his imagination. Enlin was also shocked. This was the first time someone had completely blocked his mountain quaking fist. That was his strongest move. However, he wasn't discouraged. The famous words of a bald expert appeared in his mind. There was nothing in this world that couldn't be solved with one punch. If there was, then 2 punches. Mountain quaking fist. Enlin roared and smashed his fist towards Zhang Chen. A golden fist of 10 feet shot out and blasted towards Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen's expression changed greatly. F***ck, not again. Chapter 30. Facing the second wave of golden fists, Zhang Chen didn't have a shield anymore. What should he do? The golden fists that contained terrifying power were extremely fast and arrived in front of him in an instant. Zhang Chen unsheathed the long sword at his waist and activated the flaming mountain sword technique. Extremely hot flames twined around the long sword and slashed toward the golden fists with extreme power. Boom! The flaming long sword collided with the golden fists, and a terrifying explosion of energy erupted. The sweeping flames charred the ground within a 50-foot radius, and the power of the golden fists tore the ground apart, causing the earth to cave in. Zhang Chen, who was in the center of the explosion, barely managed to block the mountain quaking fist. The shock waves from the explosion slammed into his body and forced him to retreat. At this moment, his wounds also tore open and blood flowed freely. Zhang Chen never would have thought that he would be forced into this state by Enlin. From his aura, he was clearly only a cultivator of the 8th stage Dao body. However, what's with his terrifyingly powerful immortal spell? Just as Zhang Chen was feeling indescribably shocked, another golden fist appeared in his field of vision. Mountain quaking fist. Enlin roared loudly, and a golden fist of 10 feet shot out. F***ck immortal? Don't you need to rest to use this immortal spell? Zhang Chen cursed loudly. He felt as if 10,000 alpacas were running over his body. He was speechless and in despair. Enlin also wanted to rest. In reality, he had already used up almost all the energy in his body after using the mountain quaking fist twice. However, he knew that he couldn't stop at this crucial moment. He couldn't give his opponent a chance to catch his breath. Thus, he used the last bit of energy in his body and used the third mountain quaking fist. The third golden fist gave Zhang Chen a feeling of despair. He used all his strength to block with his sword, yet the huge force passed through the sword and exploded on his body. Boom! Zhang Chen felt a heart-wrenching pain. It was as if his body had been smashed by the fist. There wasn't a single part of his body that didn't hurt, and there wasn't a single part that didn't tremble. Plop! His body fell to the ground, and his vision started to blur. A golden protective barrier appeared around his body. Zhang Chen felt that this was ridiculous. As a genius disciple of the Flames Mountain sect, he was extremely talented and cultivated many top-notch cultivation techniques of the sect. It had always been him who could surpass his cultivation level to defeat others. When had he ever been defeated by someone of a higher cultivation level? But now, he had really been defeated by someone of a higher rank. Furthermore, he had been defeated by a junior disciple of the 8th stage Dao body. This was a gap of 2 whole stages. After using the third mountain quaking fist, Enlin knelt on the ground in exhaustion. When he saw the protective golden light around Zhang Chen's body, he finally heaved a sigh of relief, and a proud smile appeared on his face. "Dabai, I've avenged you." Enlin ran over to Dabai and said. Dabai was lying on the cracked rock, looking at Enlin with his big black eyes, sobbing in a low voice. Enlin noticed that Dabai's condition wasn't right. Its breath seemed to have become weaker, and there was even blood flowing out of its mouth. "Dabai, are you all right?" Enlin immediately picked up Dabai and carefully examined its injuries. However, for some reason, Enlin was unable to examine the condition of Dabai's body. It was as if something was concealing it. "What do I do? What do I do?" Dabai's breath was becoming weaker and weaker. If this continued, it was really going to die. Enlin was extremely anxious. He didn't know how to use healing spells, so he could only use some cloth to bandage Dabai's wounds. However, Dabai's main injuries were internal. Doing so wouldn't have much effect on alleviating its injuries. Teacher, this dog is dying. Can you save it? Or send it back for treatment? Unlin shouted toward the barrier in the sky. He knew that there were teachers observing the situation on the battlefield, so he could only place his hopes on them. However, unfortunately, there was no response from the barrier in the sky. Unlin was extremely disappointed, and he didn't know what to do as he held Dabai in his arms. Dabai, do you have any last words? Unlin asked with concern as he looked at Dabai, who was riddled with wounds. Dabai. Woof. Unlin went to hunt another groundhog and handed it to Dabai. Dabai, eat a groundhog to nourish your body. Dabai grimaced and turned its head away. It didn't want to see Unlin before it died. Only cats would eat mice. Wasn't it insulting to a dog to throw a mouse to it? The immortal teacher in the sky was a sword immortal with a long sword hanging from his waist. He was called Sword Immortal Mingyuan, and he believed that everything was predestined and couldn't be forced or changed. Sword Immortal Mingyuan naturally heard Unlin's cry for help. However, since this dog had mysteriously come to the forest of 1,000 peaks, then this was its fate. He wouldn't forcefully change this karma. This is all fate. Sword Immortal Ming Yuan nodded and said seriously. Beside him, Unlin's data had already been changed by him. Unlin, combat capability, 205, achievement score, 380. After that, Unlin encountered another student of the 9th stage Dao body. He had followed the fluctuations of the battle and rushed over. Unlin fought with him, and after 2 consecutive mountain-quaking fists, he finally defeated the student. Ding-ling! A crisp sound reverberated in his mind. That was the sound of his mission being completed. Moments later, Unlin felt all the bones in his body crack, and he was in excruciating pain. This pain felt like it was going to tear his body apart. He couldn't hold on any longer, and he lay on the ground and hugged his body. The vital energy of heaven and earth surged into his body and tempered it. It hurts. Why does it hurt so much? Unlin was a bit flustered. When he advanced from the 7th stage to the 8th stage, the pain shouldn't have been this exaggerated. Right at this moment, a gigantic vital energy cyclone suddenly appeared in the sky. It was like a funnel, enveloping an area with a radius of 1,000 feet and containing immense power. Up in the sky, Sword Immortal Ming Yuan stared at the gigantic vital energy cyclone in shock. Such intense vital energy fluctuations, and they even contain the aura of the spirit of all living things. This is the fluctuation of a Dao body stage cultivator advancing to the spirit nurturing stage. It can't be. Could it be that student Unlin is about to make a breakthrough? Sword Immortal Ming Yuan turned his gaze toward the ground and looked at the youth, who was rolling on the ground in pain. The center of the vital energy cyclone in the sky was undoubtedly right above where Unlin was standing. No. Although Unlin is advancing, he's advancing from the 8th stage Dao body to the 9th stage Dao body. How could there be a phenomenon of a breakthrough to the spirit nurturing stage? Sword Immortal Ming Yuan was completely perplexed. This vital energy cyclone doesn't make sense. Could it be that there really are freaks who can make 2 consecutive breakthroughs? The gigantic vital energy cyclone and the spirit of all living things started to converge toward Unlin's location. This power was extremely turbulent and vast. Without a doubt, this was a phenomenon that could only be experienced when breaking through to the spirit nurturing stage. Sword Immortal Ming Yuan's expression froze. He looked down and stammered, "No. No way." The target of this power was the person beside Unlin, Dabai, who was also rolling on the ground in pain. Chapter 31. When Unlin broke through to the 9th stage Dao body, an indescribable force activated the power within Dabai's body. Then, Dabai felt a heart-wrenching pain within his body. Holy F***ck, Unlin, what did you do to me? Dabai roared in his heart. Unfortunately, he couldn't speak and could only bark angrily. A huge cyclone of vital energy gathered in the air and violently poured into Dabai's body. Dabai's eyes woof. He had never experienced such pain before. Under this kind of pain, even Zhang Chen's kick seemed gentle. A large amount of vital energy gathered in Dabai's body and fused with the spiritual energy of all things. Slowly, the two energies started to fuse and condense, finally forming a sparkling golden beast core. In that instant, Dabai started to feel the boundless power and vitality contained within his body. As the pain slowly dissipated, he stood up, his eyes glowing brightly. Unlin also stood up, dripping with sweat. He stretched his body and sighed in a low voice. It really wasn't easy to break through this time. Yeah, it hurts like hell, a voice echoed. Hearing this, Unlin nodded in agreement. Yeah, it hurts like hell. In that instant, he felt that something was off. Holy F***CK, who's talking to me? Unlin's hair stood on end. How could there be someone silently approaching him? Was it a powerful cultivator of the spirit-nurturing stage? Here, I'm here! A voice sounded beside him again. Unlin looked around nervously and didn't see anyone. Holy F***CK, did I see a ghost? Grandpa Dog am here? Are you looking down on me, Wolf? Unlin's expression faltered. Looking down, he discovered that Dabai was looking at him in high spirits, wagging his tail and sticking out his tongue. Dabai? Unlin asked tentatively. It's me, Wolf. Dabai's mouth curled up, revealing a devilish smile. God knows how Unlin could sense that Dabai's smile was a sinister one. In any case, it was a very lifelike sinister smile. Dabai, you can actually speak human language, you've become a demon. Unlin finally couldn't keep his cool and shouted. Toi! What demon? I've broken through to the spirit-nurturing stage. Dabai retorted with disdain. This sentence was even more shocking than Dabai admitting that he had become a spirit. Unlin was dumbfounded when he heard this. What a joke! Dabai, who was a weakling, had suddenly become a spirit-nurturing stage cultivator? Seeing Unlin's shock and confusion, Dabai said, The beast tribe's method of progression is different from your human tribe's. In any case, it's probably thanks to you that I've broken through some kind of shackle in my body. Then, I condensed a beast core and reached the spirit-nurturing stage. Once I condense a beast core, I'll become a spirit beast and be able to speak. Unlin looked at the smug Dabai, and he heaved a sigh of relief as he accepted reality. Although he didn't know how Dabai had managed to break through to the spirit-nurturing stage, but the fact that he was able to recover from a near-death state to this perfect state made Unlin feel extremely gratified. An astonishing aura suddenly erupted from Dabai. Immediately afterward, his body expanded rapidly until he became a huge dog over 10 feet in size. Oh my God, Dabai is mighty! Unlin's eyes lit up. At this moment, Dabai's fur was a dazzling white and looked extremely soft and smooth. His large eyes were bright and full of expression. Coupled with his sharp canine teeth, he gave off an aura of power and adorableness. Humph, of course. Dabai wagged his tail and smiled smugly. You've helped me quite a bit. Now I'll take you to slaughter the other students. Hearing this, Unlin was overjoyed. However, he then hesitated. The rules of this event seem to state that we can't team up against enemies. If I go with you, it'll be against the rules. Unlin, you should go and improve your IQ. The rules of this event state that only one-on-one battles are allowed. But I'm a dog. Woof. Dabai stuck out his tongue. Unlin wasn't displeased at being looked down upon by a dog. Instead, he was overjoyed. It was as if he had discovered a new continent. He looked at Dabai excitedly. Dabai, please take me to flex and fly. Heh, that's a good word. I'll take you to fly right now. Dabai lay on the ground. Come on, Wolf. Holy F***CK, Dabai can really fly? Although Unlin was a bit surprised, He jumped onto Debai's sturdy body without hesitation. He grabbed onto his soft fur and smiled. "Let's go, Pippy dog." "What Pippy dog? I'm Debai, woof." Debai protested. A pure power of wind suddenly appeared below his body. Then, he stepped on the wind and flew into the sky. Above the barrier, immortal Ming Yuan silently watched the man and dog fly into the sky, then fly further and further away. He sank into silence. In the end, he obtained an explanation and said happily, "This is fate." Sure enough, after hearing this, immortal Ming Yuan's complaints were relieved. He also calmed down. Immortal Ming Yuan nodded slightly. This sentence was too practical. It could be used to explain all King phenomena. In the sky far away. "Whoa, it feels so good!" Unlin yelled happily. This was the first time he had experienced the joy of flying. Debai's huge body and the warmth coming from his lower body gave him a great sense of security. Sitting on Debai's back, he felt that his acrophobia and tachyphobia were greatly alleviated. As expected, sword kinesis flight and whatnot could go to hell. In the future, he would only need to use dog kinesis flight. Unlin was very happy. He was already thinking about what kind of flying pet he should get in the future. Then, an idea occurred to him. He caressed Debai's head. "Debai, why don't you be my pet?" "Debai, Unlin, are you crazy? It's more like you're my pet, woof." Debai barked. Unlin was a little disappointed. Zhao Huayin is so lucky. He actually has a Debai as his pet. Debai cracked a smile. "Heh? Is Zhao Huayin worthy of being my master?" "He's just my *T shoveling officer, woof." Unlin was shocked. Debai's words really gave him a fright. "Do you know the mythological beast sect?" Debai asked. Unlin shook his head. The mythological beast sect is a large sect founded by us beasts in the Kingdom of the Nine State. The members of the sect are mainly beasts. Before a small beast forms its beast core, there's usually a full-time person responsible for looking after it. And Zhao Huayin is my caretaker. He's also known as the *T shoveling officer, woof." And Lin seemed to have heard some incredible news. "Then the person who comes to this school is actually—" "That's right, it's me. I'm a little interested in this school, so Zhao Huayin brought me here. Looks like I've gained quite a bit. At least I've managed to form my beast core by chance, woof." As it spoke, Debai was a little happy again. Its snow-white tail wagged happily. And Lin nodded. He didn't think that Zhao Huayin was actually Debai's personal attendant. However, he thought that in Debai's heart, Zhao Huayin was definitely not just a T shoveling officer, but rather a friend. Otherwise, Debai wouldn't have charged forward to avenge Zhao Huayin after he was beaten half to death by Zhang Chen. "Woof! I've discovered an aura. I'll let him have a taste of Grandpa Dog's power," Debai said excitedly. And Lin's expression turned serious. He knew that the next battle was about to begin. Chapter 32. Madagascar lay on the hovering book and used her divine sense to observe the situation in the area she was in charge of. The free-for-all battle had already entered its later stages, and there were far fewer battles. However, almost all of the battles that were taking place now were of high quality. Right at this moment, a familiar aura rushed into the range of Madagascar's divine sense. "Huh? Flying through the air? Is it a prodigy of the spirit-nurturing stage?" Immediately afterward, a string of data appeared in her book. Unlin Combat Capability 205 Achievement Score 380. Holy F***CK, it's a lie, right? What on earth did he go through? Madagascar's eyes widened as she stared at the data in her book. Her eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Back then, Unlin's combat capability was only a little over 100, and his achievement score was also a little over 100. Now, his combat power had doubled and his achievement points had increased by several times? Did he hack? Madagascar asked hesitantly. She couldn't understand what had happened. Achievement points could increase, but combat capability wasn't something that could be increased so easily. Moreover, it was multiplied. A combat capability of 205 was already at the mid-range of the 10th stage Tao Body student. Wasn't he only at the 8th stage Tao Body? And he was flying through sword kinesis flight. Was he still with Lu Qianhuan? Madagascar could only roughly sense his flying status. Thinking back to what had just happened, she came to a conclusion. Thus, she began to focus her attention on Enlin. Immediately afterward, she became even more unsettled. Holy F***ck, it's not Lu Qianhuan, he's riding a dog. What's with this dog? Madagascar grimaced. Where did this spirit-nurturing stage dog come from? Among the 22 spirit-nurturing stage students in the university, none of them could transform into a dog. If other students entered the range of her divine sense, the corresponding data would naturally appear in her book. However, this dog clearly didn't. During teleportation, spirit beasts couldn't be teleported. Then, there was only one possibility. Madagascar's expression tensed up. Could it be that this dog broke through to become a spirit beast? Heavens! Who can tell me how to deal with this situation? Enlin, don't make things difficult for me, or else I'll make you pay for it in class. Madagascar looked at the man who was happily riding his dog, and muttered to himself. As soon as she finished speaking, she saw the large dog excitedly diving towards a student on the ground. Clearly, it was about to start a fight. Madagascar. My name is Qin Feng, and I'm a second-year student of the 10th stage Tao Body. My current battle record is that I've defeated 6 students of the 10th stage Tao Body and over 20 students with ranks lower than mine. This time, I feel that I have hope of making it into the top 100 of the Immortal Rankings board. That's right, as long as I fight a few more battles to my heart's content, my goal will be achieved. Qin Feng was brimming with confidence. His green robe fluttered in the wind as he held a white longsword in his hand. Right at this moment, an extremely powerful aura assaulted him. Crap, a powerful cultivator of the spirit-nurturing stage is here. Qin Feng exclaimed in shock. However, he quickly calmed down. This was not only a challenge, but also an opportunity. To be able to unleash his full power in front of a powerful cultivator of the spirit-nurturing stage, and then be defeated after a few moves. Then, the teachers would give him a higher evaluation and his chances of making it into the top 100 of the Immortal Rankings board would be greater. Who are you? I'm second year, Class 1, Qin Feng. Qin Feng raised his head and looked towards the sky. The powerful aura was coming from the sky. Holy F***ck, what's with this dog? Seeing the large flying dog in the sky, Qin Feng was momentarily stunned. Then, his expression changed drastically. At this moment, the man sitting on the dog's back shouted, I'm first year, Class 1, Enlin. Senior Qin Feng, please enlighten me. Please enlighten me? Qin Feng's eyes widened as he stared at the man and dog. Before he could understand what was going on, the large dog raised its paw and swiped towards him. Qin Feng was indeed a powerful cultivator who had experienced hundreds of battles. Even though Dabai's attack was extremely ferocious, he was still able to block the attack with his sword in front of him. Bam! A terrifyingly huge force came, causing his body to fly backwards. So powerful! Qin Feng was greatly shocked. This white-furred dog's strength was obviously at the spirit-nurturing stage. What's going on? Is there any powerful cultivator in our school who can transform into a huge dog? Before he could recover from his shock, the Dabai dog's front paw was already surrounded by a cyclone of wind blades and it slashed towards his body in the air. Dabai was already a spirit beast now and could draw upon the power of heaven and earth with just a wave of its paw. With a single slash, 10 wind blades of 10 feet long sliced through the air and slashed towards Qin Feng. Qin Feng slashed out one sword after another in the air, shattering the wind blades. However, this was an attack from Dabai after all. How could it be so easy to block? Even though Qin Feng's swordsmanship was profound and he managed to shatter 8 wind blades, 2 wind blades still managed to land on his body. Blood splattered and 2 bloody gashes instantly appeared on his body. However, this wasn't the end. A golden fist imbued with a terrifying might came crashing towards him. Holy F***ck. How can you guys attack at the same time? Qin Feng exclaimed in shock. At this moment, he just so happened to be in a defensive position and could only block with his sword in front of him. Boom! The fist descended and a violent burst of energy exploded, causing him to spit out a large mouthful of blood. Now that Enlin had advanced to the 9th stage Dao body, the power of this mountain-quaking fist was even more terrifying than the immortal spells cast by many 10th stage Dao body students. Thus, he was able to knock Qin Feng to the ground with just this one strike. Huh? Why is he so weak? Enlin walked over to Qin Feng and asked in confusion. In his memory, this senior was at least of the 10th stage Dao body. No matter what, he would need at least 2 or 3 strikes of the mountain-quaking fist to defeat him. How did he manage to imprint his soul with just one strike? When Qin Feng heard this, he was about to vomit blood again. He immediately cursed, "Shameless! If you have the guts, come and fight me one-on-one. You teamed up with a spirit-nurturing stage cultivator to fight me, what kind of hero are you? Moreover, the rules of this event state that you can only fight one-on-one. This is against the rules." Qin Feng continued to berate. Hearing this, Enlin blinked and pointed at Dabai. "I'm fighting one-on-one. This is a dog, not a human. It's my summoned beast and also one of my strengths. I'm Enlin's summoned beast. I'm called Dabai Woof." Dabai cooperated. "What F***king summoned beast? Does your summoned beast have a rank higher than yours? That's cheating. Cheating. Do you understand?" Hearing this, Qin Feng trembled in anger and felt like he was going to faint again. Right at this moment, Dabai continued, "Come, Enlin, go and land the killing blow. This way, you'll defeat another 10th stage Dao body cultivator." Landing the killing blow? Hearing this, Qin Feng almost spat out blood again. "Teacher!" he yelled in grief and indignation. "Can't you do something about this? Is there any justice in this world? Is there any justice in this world?" He knew that there were definitely teachers observing the battle here. Unfortunately, the teachers didn't appear to stop it. This could only mean that the 2 of them weren't breaking the rules. Just like that, Qin Feng was pummeled by Enlin to the point that the golden barrier around his body was forced out on the ground. Qin Feng's eyes were red and his lips trembled, but he couldn't say a word. What the hell is this? It was one thing for 2 spirit-nurturing stage cultivators to fight fair and square, but who would have thought that in the end, he would be beaten by a dog and a human, no matter how you looked at it. He had lost this battle unjustly. Done. Let's move on to the next battle. Enlin clapped his hands in satisfaction and leaped onto Dabai's body. Dabai was also very excited. Alright, let's remind these little brats of the fear of being dominated by a big dog. Dabai leaped into the air and rode on a cloud. Once again, he and Enlin set off on their journey to become kings. In the sky, Madagascar gritted her teeth. Crack! The pen in her hand snapped in half. "Enlin, you're always causing trouble for me." She was already dumbfounded by Dabai's appearance, and then Enlin and Dabai beat up Qin Feng. As the person responsible for recording data, how was she supposed to record this? Should she record Dabai's data as well? After these 2 bastards won, their combat prowess could be determined from their battles, but how was she supposed to distribute their achievement points? Earth Immortal Yu Ying's head was about to explode. The more she thought about it, the more her hatred for Enlin intensified. Ah! How am I supposed to record this? Madagascar was going crazy. In the end, she still wrote down the following data in her notebook. Enlin, combat prowess, 205, achievement points, 405. Unlin's summoned beast, Dubai combat prowess, 320. Achievement points, 25. I'll split the achievement points between these two bastards in half. As for whether or not this is reasonable, that's something for Principal Yuhua to worry about. I'm only responsible for reporting this to the higher-ups. I don't care. That's right, Madagascar was going to write down the data based on her feelings. Chapter 33. On the last day of the free-for-all battle, on the White Jade Plaza, more than 40,000 students with varying degrees of injuries were all gathered here. They were the students who had already been defeated in the event. An extremely vast healing spell formation enveloped the entire plaza, exuding an extremely powerful aura of life as it continuously healed the injured students. Some of the more serious injuries were treated by teachers who were proficient in the art of healing. It could be said that as long as you were teleported out with one last breath, you wouldn't have to worry about dying in this event. The students gathered on the White Jade Plaza for two reasons. Firstly, it was for treatment, and secondly, it was to watch the final battle of the free-for-all battle. A huge crystal screen over 1,000 feet in size was suspended above the plaza. However, there was no image on it at the moment. Even so, the atmosphere on the plaza was still extremely lively, and the students had already started discussing spiritedly. Why hasn't the crystal screen started yet? Don't worry, when there are only 200 students left, the crystal screen will start broadcasting the battle in real time. According to past experience, there should be about 4 hours left. The barrier should be shrinking now. In the end, the forest of 1,000 peaks will shrink to a radius of 1.5 kilometers. The battle will be intense then. Who do you guys think will be the first place on our school's Immortal Rankings board? Of course it's Wang Xuanzhan. He was already Spirit Nurturing Final Stage in his 3rd year and ranked first in the last Immortal Rankings board. Now that another year has passed, his strength has become even more unfathomable. Who else could it be other than him? I think it'll be Yang Chengwu. He's also Spirit Nurturing Final Stage and ranked 3rd in the last Immortal Rankings board. Last time, he also lost to Wang Xuanzhan. Now that he's about to graduate, maybe he'll be able to make a breakthrough and take first place. I think it'll be Goddess Lu. She has all kinds of strange techniques. Maybe she'll be able to create a miracle. The White Jade Plaza was abuzz with discussion. Meanwhile, the most intense battle had already begun in the forest of 1,000 peaks. The blue barrier started shrinking continuously, and the students started gathering toward the Immortal King Peak. From time to time, they would encounter enemies, and a huge battle would ensue. In the sky, Unlin, who was flying on dog kinesis flight, had an exhausted expression on his face. He had already experienced quite a few battles today. The weakest opponent he encountered was a 10th stage Dao Body Cultivator, and the strongest opponent was even a powerful cultivator on the Immortal Rankings board. If it wasn't for the fact that he was fighting with a human and dog duo, he would have been teleported home long ago. Unlin looked toward the system. Ever since he had advanced to the 9th stage Dao Body, the missions in the system's cultivation rank section had become a little troublesome. 10th stage Dao Body, condition, learn 3 different system-type cultivation methods. Now that Unlin's cultivation technique interface had been updated, there was a new wind-type cultivation technique that he could cultivate. Wind Spirit Level 1, condition, jump off a cliff once. In addition to the lightning attribute cultivation technique that allowed one to be struck by the lightning of heaven and earth, there were exactly 3 cultivation techniques. In other words, if Unlin had 3 lives, he could attempt to break through to the 10th stage Dao Body through this system. Oh, the system also has a cultivation method that can be cultivated. It's in the Soul Cultivation interface. Divine Might Technique, condition, be worshipped by 10,000 people. Based on Unlin's current situation, this condition was as difficult as ascending to heaven. If it was changed to be despised by thousands of people, then he would be more confident. No longer thinking about the system, he swept his gaze across the ground and continued to look for prey. Boom! A flaming sword slashed through the air and exploded on the ground. Terrifying energy swept out in all directions with astonishing might. What powerful energy fluctuations! It's a battle between two powerful cultivators on the Immortal Rankings board. Moreover, their rankings can't be low. Let's go take a look. Unlin patted Dabai's head excitedly and began to fly toward the battle. As they flew closer, they finally saw the two parties engaged in battle. Su Xiaolan. Unlin blurted out when he saw that figure. He recognized such a familiar figure with a single glance. Su Xiaolan was an expert swordsman. In battle, her profound swordsmanship and the power of the divine phoenix bloodline complemented each other, and she displayed extremely astonishing strength. Extremely pure flames danced along with her long sword, making her appear like a phoenix from the heavens. She was magnificent, noble, and powerful to the extreme. Although Su Xiaolan was powerful, her opponent wasn't weak either. His opponent was a man with an extremely strong physique who wielded two swords in his hands. As he waved his swords, they formed an impenetrable sword net that blocked most of Su Xiaolan's attacks. Not only that, but he was also able to find the flaws in Su Xiaolan's attacks and launch extremely swift and violent counterattacks. This was an evenly matched battle. Even if Su Xiaolan could win, it would be a tragic victory, and she would definitely be injured. Unlin was very depressed because he could only watch helplessly as his good friend was injured. Unlin, look over there. Dabai's voice suddenly sounded, and there was a hint of excitement in it. Unlin came back to his senses and looked in the direction that Dabai was pointing. There, he saw a figure. This person hid very well. His aura was low, and he blended in with the surrounding environment. If it wasn't for Dabai looking down from a high altitude and his outstanding eyesight, he really wouldn't have been able to discover him. That person was silently watching the fight on Su Xiaolan's side. His purpose was self-evident. Good fellow, he actually wants to land the killing blow. Doesn't he know that the ancestor of the killing blow style is here? Unlin's eyes were filled with anger. He was originally very unhappy when he saw that Su Xiaolan was injured in this battle. This fellow was actually still lying in ambush, planning to make a move on the injured Su Xiaolan? Let him see the power of our human and dog mixed doubles, woof. Dabai also began to clamor, and he was already eager to give it a try. Elsewhere, on the White Jade Plaza, the huge crystal screen finally began to display images, and the atmosphere in the plaza instantly reached a climax. The screen was divided into more than a dozen images, and each image showed a different battle. Look, that's Yang Chengwu fighting Luo Chenglong. What's there to watch? Third place on the Immortal Rankings board fighting 36th, and it's still a insta-kill. Heh, he really lost. Just as they finished speaking, they saw that Yang Chengwu had ended his battle. Tens of thousands of students began to discuss spiritedly as they paid attention to the different images. Some people noticed one of the images. Look, isn't that man with two swords Xiong who's ranked 29th on the Immortal Rankings board? Who's the girl he's fighting? She looks unfamiliar. At this moment, a student with sharp eyes answered, I think she's from the newest cohort. Her name is Su Xiaolan. She's actually a new student. Cries of surprise rang out in the plaza. She had just entered the university, yet she was already able to fight evenly with a powerful cultivator ranked 29th on the Immortal Rankings board. Apart from the two freaks of the spirit nurturing stage, her strength could already be considered top-tier among the new students. Everyone silently committed this beautiful and powerful girl to memory. She had already become the new star of this university, and it was extremely likely that she would break through to the spirit nurturing stage in the next few years. Right at this moment, another image of a new battle appeared on the screen. This indicated that a new battle had taken place. The appearance of a new battle would always attract the attention of most people. At this moment, tens of thousands of new students turned their gazes toward the screen. The square, which was originally extremely noisy, gradually became strangely quiet. More and more students turned their gazes toward the image of the battle, and all of them wore extremely excited expressions. Some people had strange expressions, some were shocked, and some even rubbed their eyes, wondering if they were seeing things. The image of the battle was extremely bizarre. A gigantic white dog sat down on the body of a powerful cultivator on the immortal rankings board, a sinister smile on its face. Its two gigantic paws firmly pressed down on the hands of the powerful cultivator on the immortal rankings board. The powerful cultivator on the immortal rankings board was pinned to the ground, unable to move, and there was a look of terror on his face. Meanwhile, the other male's fists were like raindrops, and they were aimed directly at the face of the powerful cultivator on the immortal rankings board. Chapter 34. The one being pressed to the ground by the huge dog seems to be Lu Chang, ranked 45th on the immortal rankings board. Brother, you have such good eyes. You can still recognize him after being beaten up like this. Can someone explain to me what's going on with that dog? The plaza fell silent again when these words were spoken. I don't know what's going on with that dog, but that person seems to be the new student, Unlin. What? He's that Unlin who entered the university with a Zeroth stage Dao body? Unlin's profile could only be seen on the screen of the battle, so many students didn't recognize him at first glance. After this reminder, many students began to associate him with the portrait on the university's celebrity rankings board. Holy sh*t, it really is him. Didn't he enter the university with a Zeroth stage Dao body? How did he become so strong now? Many students were astonished when they saw this. Even though they were watching the battle through the screen, they could tell that the power that erupted from Unlin's fists was definitely not something that an ordinary powerful being could display. Fierce winds howled when he punched, and his fists were extremely swift and violent. Shocking! The most powerful backdoor entrant who entered the university with a Zeroth stage Dao body actually beat up a powerful being on the immortal rankings board. Was this the fall of morals, or was it the counterattack of an underdog? Many students came to a realization. This was big news. The atmosphere on the White Jade Plaza began to ignite, and many students argued endlessly. Some students guessed that Unlin concealed his strength when he entered the university, some concluded that Unlin possessed a peerless divine bloodline that had only awakened recently, and some female students had even secretly inquired about Unlin's residence. Right at this moment, another sentence popped up. Actually, I'm more concerned about what's going on with that dog. The students in the plaza fell silent again when they heard this. In the forest of 1,000 peaks, Unlin didn't know what was happening on the White Jade Plaza. He was currently beating up Lu Chang, and every punch landed on his flesh, creating loud bangs. Poor Lu Chang. He didn't even have the chance to make a move. The golden light protecting his body was beaten out by Unlin's fist, just like that. Lu Chang's eyes were misty with tears. His lips quivered as he said with great difficulty, Unlin F***CKU. Did I dig up your ancestral grave? Damn it. He clearly just wanted to quietly deal the final blow. The man and the dog in the sky suddenly pounced on him. Without saying a word, they started beating him up. Most importantly, they only slapped his face. Who did he offend? Unlin's expression was one of extreme rage, and it was as if he wanted to skin him alive. However, this was clearly the first time he and Unlin had met. What kind of enmity was this? Unlin frowned slightly when he saw the protective golden light. He rubbed his slightly swollen hand and said, It really hurts. When Lu Chang heard these words, his chest felt stifled, and he nearly vomited another mouthful of old blood. Unlin glanced at Lu Chang and continued, Oh, I'll answer your question just now. You didn't dig up my ancestral grave. The reason why I hit you like this is because you stole my business. Listen well. I'm the professional at dealing the final blow. Only I can deal the final blow. I'm definitely going to be the final blow king. With that, Unlin gave a thumbs up and pointed at himself with a proud and smug look. Pfft. After hearing this, Lu Chang successfully vomited that mouthful of blood that was stifled in his chest. On the white jade square, the students were shocked once again. The crystal screen only had the function of recording the live broadcast. The students couldn't hear the conversation during the battle. Therefore, the students only saw Unlin say one sentence, and then Lu Chang vomited blood. Amazing! Is this the coercion of a powerhouse? No, I think this is some kind of sound wave supernatural power. It can hurt people invisibly. F***ck. This supernatural power can hurt people through the protective golden light? That's awesome. Anlin Jr. brother is really unfathomable. He's a true peerless master. In the forest of 1,000 peaks, after Lu Chang disappeared, Unlin once again looked toward where Su Xiaolan was fighting. Rumble. Flames exploded, and scorching heat waves spread in all directions. Su Xiaolan walked out of the flames. The dancing flames seemed to have a mind of their own as they circulated around her. Behind her, Xiong Sha, who was ranked 29th on the Immortal Rankings board, was already kneeling on the ground, and a protective golden light appeared when Unlin saw Su Xiaolan's appearance. His heart ached, and he hurriedly ran over. There were already several sword wounds on her body. Her plain Taoist robe was stained with dark red blood, and her pretty little face looked especially pale. Su Xiaolan! Unlin shouted. When Su Xiaolan saw the person who came, a look of joy appeared on her jade-like face. Unlin, why are you here? I heard the sounds of fighting, so I came over. By the way, are you all right? Unlin asked worriedly. Su Xiaolan shook her head lightly. It was normal to get injured in a fight. This kind of injury was not particularly serious to her. Then, she saw the huge dog behind Unlin, and she was instantly shocked. Unlin, what's with the dog behind you? Oh, you mean it? It's Dabai, Unlin explained. It's the perverted dog that peeps on girls bathing? Su Xiaolan's beautiful brows widened, and she covered her mouth as she exclaimed. She obviously could not believe that the perverted dog that Unlin had mentioned to her before was actually so mighty. Woof. Unlin, is this how you usually introduce me to others? Dabai was furious. He glared at Unlin and said, Don't wash your dirty linen in public. They say that don't wash your dirty linen in public. Can't you beautify my deeds? Unlin scratched his head awkwardly. Su Xiaolan also knew that she was outspoken and made a mistake. She quickly changed the topic. I really didn't expect Dabai to be so cute and mighty. Seeing is believing. Speaking of which, how did you guys get together? When Dabai heard Su Xiaolan's compliments, his dog face relaxed slightly. Unlin immediately changed the topic and explained to Su Xiaolan how he met Dabai. On the white jade square, when Unlin defeated Lu Chang and walked towards Su Xiaolan, the students thought that another big battle was about to break out. However, what they didn't expect was that the two people and one dog in the scene actually chatted leisurely. What? So they know each other? Forget it. Let's watch the battles elsewhere. Some students said in disappointment. The crystal screen was currently divided into more than a dozen windows. Each window had a battle going on. The students also paid attention to the battles they liked purposefully. The teacher in charge of the live broadcast of the battle was about to close the screen of Unlin's battle. Then, he seemed to have seen something. He stopped in place and his eyes widened. Look at Unlin's screen. A student suddenly exclaimed in the square. Many students heard this and looked at the screen. Then, they all froze in place as if they had seen something incomprehensible. This scene was so beautiful that everyone forgot to breathe and fell into silence again. The two people and one dog who were chatting happily suddenly changed the scene. They saw that the giant white dog suddenly opened its bloody mouth and then swallowed Su Xiaolan whole. Chapter 35. Oh my God, the dog ate her! And it swallowed her alive. Is there a need to be so bloody? Tens of thousands of students stared blankly at the giant white dog on the screen. They had yet to recover from the tragic death of a beautiful young girl in the belly of a ferocious beast. Aren't they friends? Why did they suddenly attack? Indeed, that dog is too strange. I think it's the final boss of this event. So, can anyone stand out and explain what's going on with this dog? Everyone. Just when everyone was silent, the scene changed again. The white dog opened its mouth wide and emitted a golden light, looking very powerful. Damn, this dog can spit out golden light. The students were shocked again. No, this should be the golden light of the defeat judgment seal. Some students began to react. They already had a guess in their hearts. In the forest of 1,000 peaks, Unlin finally heaved a sigh of relief when he saw the golden light emitting from Dabai's mouth. He knew that his attempt had succeeded. Dabai swallowed Su Xiaolan at her request. In the previous battle, Su Xiaolan had actually exhausted the power of the divine phoenix meridian in her body. This kind of power was extremely difficult to recover in a short period of time. In other words, she had already displayed her strongest side to the teacher above the barrier. Without the power of the divine phoenix meridian, Su Xiaolan could not unleash her strongest strength. She would suffer in the following battles in vain, so it was better to leave this place as soon as possible. Just like that, Dabai used the great engulfment technique and swallowed Su Xiaolan in one gulp. After entering Dabai's stomach, Su Xiaolan could not break through with her strength. Moreover, the vitality in her body was continuously being stripped by Dabai. This was truly a hopeless situation. Just like that, the defeat judgment seal was activated. With a flash of golden light, Su Xiaolan left the place without suffering any additional damage. This method was unexpectedly useful. Unlin stroked his chin thoughtfully. Dabai, can I ask you for a favor? What is it? If I encounter a very powerful enemy, you can swallow me in one gulp. Dabai. After Su Xiaolan left, Unlin once again rode on his dog and set off on his journey. In the White Jade Plaza, a golden light flashed, and Su Xiaolan's tall and slender figure appeared. Then, the powerful healing ability of the array formation began to heal her sword wound. Such a powerful healing effect. Su Xiaolan's beautiful face was filled with surprise. Her injuries were recovering very quickly. At this rate, she might be able to fully recover in a few hours. At this moment, a voice sounded beside her ear. Junior Su, congratulations on escaping from the mouth of a dog. A man's face was filled with sympathy and sincere blessings. Junior Su, it's all in the past. Don't think about it. At this moment, another woman spoke. Yeah, being alive is the most important thing. It's just being swallowed by a dog. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Another student consoled. Immediately afterward, countless students looked at her with caring expressions and used kind words of encouragement. Su Xiaolan. 2 hours later, there were less than 100 students still fighting in the forest of 1,000 peak. During this period, apart from paying attention to the battles of the spirit-nurturing stage cultivators, the students paid the most attention to Unlin's battle. Unlin and Dabai flew freely in the sky. Once they discovered an enemy, they would descend from the sky and pounce fiercely. Do you recognize a fist technique that descends from the sky? Mountain Quaking Fist. When the golden fist descended, it was the beginning of the enemy's nightmare. It had to be said, the unique fighting style of the human and dog duo attracted the attention of countless people. Countless powerful cultivators on the Immortal Rankings board had fallen tragically and perished. Unlin and Dabai were able to make a name for themselves with their extremely powerful battle records and earned a title that reverberated like thunder in everyone's ears. This title was passed down by word of mouth among the tens of thousands of students. That title was the Heroic Human and Dog Duo. Look, another powerful cultivator on the Immortal Rankings board has been targeted by the Heroic Human and Dog Duo. Oh? Which unlucky B** starred is it this time? It's Zhou Qingyun, ranked 92nd on the Immortal Rankings board. It's over, so weak. I think he's going to be defeated by the Golden Light Poison Fist. I don't think so. I think he'll be able to last until the second technique. The students discussed animatedly, and the scene was exceptionally lively. Due to the fact that both Enlin and Dabai's attacks had a basic pattern to them, the students all named their moves and then guessed how many moves their opponents could last. In the Forest of 1,000 Peaks, Zhou Qingyun carried his sword on his back. He had already defeated 11 students of the 10th stage Dao Body, and his sword intent had already accumulated to an extremely terrifying level. So what if the enemy is strong? I only need to swing my sword, and I'll be able to sweep them away. First year, Class 1, Enlin, please enlighten me. A voice descended from the sky. Zhou Qingyun looked toward the sky and sensed the powerful aura. He shouted, "Good! Fourth year, Class 2, Zhou Qingyun. Please enlighten me." A golden fist descended from the sky and pressed down on Zhou Qingyun with the weight of Mount Tai. Ha 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 ha, what a powerful immortal spell. But no matter how many immortal spells there are, I'll break them with a single sword. Pwa. Before Zhou Qingyun could finish his sentence, a huge wind claw condensed from the air and struck him in the chest. Boom. When he was struck by the wind claw, the huge golden fist also landed in front of him. The terrifying power instantly knocked him to the ground. Zhou Qingyun spat out a mouthful of blood, but his eyes were extremely resolute. He actually used 2 immortal spells at the same time, one in the light and one in the dark. Impressive. But so what? I'll break them with a single sword. Pwa. The huge figure in the sky descended and completely crushed him under its body. The huge force caused him to spit out another mouthful of blood. Zhou Qingyun felt a little dizzy. When he saw the huge figure in front of him, his expression froze. So his opponent was not a human, but a huge dog? What on earth was going on? The huge white dog even smiled at him with a demonic charm? Before he could figure out the reason, a figure leaped down from the back of the huge dog. Whoosh! The figure's speed was extremely fast. In an instant it appeared in front of him. Then, a storm of fists rained down. Zhou Qingyun was beaten senseless by these terrifying fists. After a long time, he finally squeezed out a word. Wait a minute. When Enlin heard Zhou Qingyun's words, he stopped attacking and looked at him with some confusion. Senior, what's wrong? Are you not going to continue? When Zhou Qingyun heard this, he almost couldn't help but cry. How am I continuing to fight? This is continuing to be beaten by you. Enlin, do you dare to receive a sword from me? Zhou Qingyun said with difficulty. He had been accumulating power for this sword for a long time. If he didn't release it, the battle would end. He was unwilling. When Enlin heard his words, he had a strange expression. You're a Virgo? Zhou Qingyun. When Enlin saw Zhou Qingyun's expression, he smiled. Looks like Senior didn't study hard enough. Zhou Qingyun was still dumbfounded. Enlin said helplessly, all right, I'll let you deliver a sword. He knew that if someone with obsessive-compulsive disorder couldn't find a reasonable outlet, they would suffocate to death. Zhou Qingyun finally understood Enlin's last sentence. He smiled and said gratefully, in that case, thank you, Enlin Jr. brother. Dabai moved his body away. Enlin also began to slowly retreat, making space for him. Zhou Qingyun was overjoyed. He knew that his chance to turn the tables had come. Although he was severely injured, he was still confident that he could defeat this powerful enemy with one sword. He wanted to crawl up from the ground, but he found that his legs were trembling, and he couldn't stand up anymore. He wanted to use his hands to pull out his sword, but he found that his hands were also temporarily numb from being crushed by Dabai. Zhou Qingyun's entire body was trembling, but he couldn't move anymore. Seeing Zhou Qingyun's state, Enlin and Dabai looked at each other. Senior, do you need help? Enlin asked with concern. A teardrop slowly rolled down from the corner of Zhou Qingyun's eye, just like his unconcealable sorrow. Yes, I do need help. Anlin Junior brother, please continue to attack and bring out my golden protective light. Chapter 36. Anlin was a very kind-hearted young man. He knew what Zhou Qingyun was thinking and understood the pain Zhou Qingyun was going through. Thus, he came to Zhou Qingyun's side and gently held Zhou Qingyun's sword-wielding hand, lifting it up slightly. Just like that, Zhou Qingyun's hand was lifted by Anlin's hand and he lightly poked Anlin's knee with the sword in his hand. See, I've helped you fulfill your wish. You've successfully delivered a strike. Anlin looked at Zhou Qingyun with a sincere gaze. Tears streamed down Zhou Qingyun's face as he said in a trembling voice, Anlin Junior brother, I'll definitely pay you a visit next time to thank you. I'll stab you to death with my sword. Anlin shook his head. It's nothing, it's not worth mentioning. Zhou Qingyun also shook his head seriously. A drop of water should be returned with a gushing spring. You can't run away. Anlin sighed lightly and didn't say anything else. He used the iron fist of love on Zhou Qingyun. The battle between Anlin and Zhou Qingyun was displayed on the crystal screen. Tens of thousands of students were deeply moved by their actions. What a touching battle between brothers! Yeah, Anlin's gentle gaze and Zhou Qingyun's manly tears both touched me. This is brotherly love. Nonsense, this is clearly love. A female student protested. What had to be mentioned was that from this day onwards, the battle between Anlin and Zhou Qingyun began to spread throughout Xiuxian United University and became a long-lasting story. After defeating Zhou Qingyun, Anlin began to fly on dog kinesis flight toward the immortal King Peak. Currently, the boundary was still shrinking. It was rumored that it would eventually shrink to a radius of 1.5 kilometers. This was completely forcing people to fight. Elsewhere in the forest of 1,000 peaks, two people were facing off against each other. A green-robed male wielding a dragon-patterned spear exuded a domineering aura that looked down on the heavens. His talent was outstanding and his strength was unrivaled among the younger generation. He was the goal of all the students in the school. He was the current #1 on the Immortal Rankings board, Wang Xuanzhan. Who was it that had the strength to confront him? Standing across from Wang Xuanzhan was a youth with delicate features. His eyes were extremely pure, as if all the filth in the world had been removed. He stood there, his aura subdued, and his sense of existence was extremely low. He was like a stone, a speck of dust. Anyone who passed by would just glance at him and then forget about him. Anlin had seen that young man before. His name was Chen Chen. Chen Chen's rank had remained at the 8th stage Dao body ever since he entered the academy. Chen Chen, you won't be able to escape this time. Wang Xuanzhan stared at Chen Chen with a scorching light in his eyes. Chen Chen looked at the man in front of him and sighed softly. Other people will unknowingly forget about me, but your impression of me is becoming more and more profound. Your obsession is too strong. If this goes on, I'll become your inner demon. Wang Xuanzhan's aura erupted from his body, and his battle intent surged. Chen Chen, ever since I entered the academy, you're the only person who has received a true God's invitation letter like me. I've wanted to fight you for a long time. I know you're definitely not weak, but you've avoided me time and time again. This is my last chance. You're the only opponent I haven't defeated yet. The more I can't fight you, the more I want to fight you. If I can't defeat you, I won't be able to accept the #1 spot on the Immortal Rankings board. You've already become my inner demon. Thus, I must seize this opportunity to defeat you. Only then will my inner demon be dispelled. A peculiar expression appeared on Chen Chen's face as he listened to Wang Xuanzhan's incessant rambling. Wang Xuanzhan, are you a Virgo? Wang Xuanzhan was confused. What? Chen Chen sighed. Sigh, you haven't learned your mortal studies well. Wang Xuanzhan. I'm sorry, I don't want to fight no matter what. If I'm your inner demon, then you'd better find other ways to deal with it. Chen Chen shook his head with the intention to leave. At this moment, on the White Jade Plaza, Wang Xuanzhan's battle attracted the attention of most of the students. Do you think Wang Xuanzhan will be able to fight Qin Qin this time? Who's Qin Qin? Oh, he's facing off against Qin Qin. I almost forgot about him. What you should be asking is how long until Qin Qin can escape from Wang Xuanzhan's grasp. That's right. Qin Qin's escape techniques are extremely strange. His title as the most powerful escapee in the academy is not just for show. That makes sense. After all, he's already successfully escaped 3 times, and they're all instant escapes. Wang Xuanzhan can't do anything to him. Maybe Wang Xuanzhan has a backup plan this time? Every time Wang Xuanzhan participates in the free-for-all battle, he always says he has a backup plan to deal with Qin Qin. When have you ever seen him succeed? This, the students on the plaza discussed spiritedly. Within the forest of 1,000 peaks, a battle was about to break out. Qin Qin, I've already mastered the White Dragon Spear intent. You can't escape. Wang Xuanzhan could tell that Qin Qin intended to escape. Instantly, he released all of his aura. A white glow flashed on his spear, and he was just waiting for the spear to strike like a dragon, cutting off Qin Qin's path of retreat with a single strike. Right at this moment, a white-robed male flew over on his sword. He transformed into a streak of white light and landed in front of Qin Qin. Who are you? Why are you interfering in my battle with Qin Qin? Wang Xuanzhan was extremely displeased with this uninvited guest. I'm first year, Class 1's Xianyuan Qing. The male had a graceful bearing. He bowed gracefully and gently before replying. You're Xianyuan Qing? Wang Xuanzhan's eyes narrowed slightly, and his expression relaxed slightly. Although you're also a talented individual, you can't recklessly interfere in a battle. If you want to fight me, wait until I take care of Qin Qin. Xianyuan Qing shook his head lightly. My purpose in coming here is to stop your battle with Senior Qin. Hearing this, Wang Xuanzhan was enraged. What does my battle with him have to do with you? Senior Wang, you're of the spirit-nurturing final stage, yet you're attacking Senior Qin, who's of the 8th stage Dao body. I can't stand by and do nothing, Xianyuan Qing said slowly with a resolute expression. Hearing this, Wang Xuanzhan became even more enraged. The free-for-all battle is a free-for-all battle. Why are you sticking your nose in other people's business? Xianyuan Qing furrowed his brows. When there's a huge disparity in strength, it's easy for the weaker party to be heavily injured. There have even been deaths in the past. We have a responsibility to protect the weaker party. Although the weaker party isn't suited to survive in this world, it's exactly because of this that we need to give the weaker party a chance and allow them to grow into powerful beings. Wang Xuanzhan's lips twitched. Where on earth did Xianyuan Qing's theories come from? A ball of rage gathered in his chest. He suppressed it and continued. Qin Qin concealed his strength. He's a powerful being. Then does Senior Wang know what Senior Qin's true rank is like? Xianyuan Qing asked. Wang Xuanzhan had never fought Qin Qin before, so how could he know his true strength? Seeing Wang Xuanzhan's hesitation, Xianyuan Qing knew that he had done the right thing. If Senior Qin really is of the 8th stage Dao body, he advised with a gentle expression, then wouldn't he be in great danger at Senior Wang's hands? Why do you have to do this, Senior Wang? Are you going to move or not? Wang Xuanzhan glowered at him. He really didn't know why this man in front of him was so nosy and talkative. An indescribable sense of irritation and rage threatened to explode in his chest. No. Xianyuan Qing's expression was resolute. Just like that, Wang Xuanzhan finally exploded. How dare you? I've King had enough of your blabbering. Eat my spear. Wang Xuanzhan's spear transformed into an azure dragon and pierced toward Xianyuan Qing. Chapter 37. Xianyuan Qing was already prepared for battle. In the face of this astonishing spear strike, he didn't dodge or evade. Instead, he brandished his longsword and met the attack head-on. Boom! The first collision between the two of them caused a terrifying explosion of energy, causing the ground within a radius of 30 feet to crack open. Wang Xuanzhan's explosive temper had long since been ignited by Xian Yuanqing. Thus, he unleashed his full power from the get-go. He only wanted to end this battle as soon as possible. An azure dragon of vital energy revolved around the spear. Stabbing, flicking, and sweeping, each strike carried with it an unstoppable aura. Xian Yuanqing continuously retreated to evade the attack. His sword trembled and formed a circular barrier of air. Every time Wang Xuanzhan's spear pierced into the barrier of air, it would be impeded by a viscous force. At this time, Xian Yuanqing would take advantage of this momentary delay to evade or block. Xian Yuanqing knew that Wang Xuanzhan was very powerful. If he fought him head-on, he would be defeated very quickly. It was exactly because of this that he used his most powerful defensive technique. He only defended and didn't attack in order to buy time for Chen Chen to escape. "Senior Chen, what are you doing here? Hurry up and run!" Xian Yuanqing yelled at Chen Chen. Chen Chen. Xian Yuanqing's defense was like sticky candy. Wang Xuanzhan was extremely aggrieved. After hearing what Xian Yuanqing said to Chen Chen, he finally exploded again. He unleashed his second form of rage. This time, not only did the azure dragon of vital energy revolve around the spear, but his entire body also transformed into a dragon. Azure dragon scales appeared on Wang Xuanzhan's body. His aura also skyrocketed to the pinnacle of the spirit-nurturing stage. "You actually have the bloodline of the dragon tribe." Xian Yuanqing's expression changed upon seeing this. Almost all of the students on the White Jade Plaza turned their attention to Wang Xuanzhan's battle. This was a battle between the number 1 on the Immortal Rankings board, Wang Xuanzhan, and the most powerful new student of this cohort. Moreover, this was a battle between two powerful cultivators who both had true god invitations. It was quite a spectacle. "It's over. The power of Wang Xuanzhan's dragon tribe bloodline has already been activated. He's going to use his full power in battle." A student with a small beard and a leisurely expression, who had the bearing of an expert, spoke. "Senior student Pan, you mentioned the dragon tribe bloodline. Could it be that senior student Wang is from the dragon court of the Eastern Seas?" An adorable female student asked curiously. At the same time, a large group of students in the surroundings also looked at Senior Pan with curiosity in their eyes. This Senior Pan clearly enjoyed this kind of gaze, and an unfathomable expression appeared on his face. What a joke! He was Pan Bu, ranked 20th on the Immortal Rankings board. It was normal for his juniors to look at him with respect. Wang Xuanzhan is not a member of the Dragon Court. His dragon tribe bloodline originates from the ancient dragon bloodline. This is an extremely ancient bloodline inheritance. How he obtained his dragon race bloodline power is a secret to us. But what is certain is that it is precisely because of this ancient dragon clan bloodline that he obtained the true god's recognition. Pan Buyu's words caused many students to come to a sudden realization. A true god could single-handedly destroy the entire dragon court. How could the dragon court's bloodline compare to a bloodline that could obtain the true god's recognition? Then, Senior Student Pan, how much longer do you think Xian Yuanqing can last? A first-year female student asked timidly. She worshipped Xian Yuanqing very much. Now that she heard Pan Buyu's words, she immediately began to worry for Xian Yuanqing. Pan Buyu chuckled lightly and extended a finger. 15 minutes? The female student asked, blinking her eyes. No. He can't even last one move. Pan Buyu said seriously. His words instantly caused a huge commotion among the crowd. Everyone revealed expressions of shock. Hearing this, the female student's slender body trembled, as if she had received a heavy blow. He can't even last one move? Are you kidding me? However, Pan Bu was a powerful cultivator of the spirit-nurturing stage. He had even battled against Xianyuan Qing before. Therefore, his words were very authoritative. Even if some people didn't believe him, they wouldn't refute him to his face. Everyone stared nervously at the image on the crystal screen. If Pan Bu's words were reliable, then this battle was probably going to end soon. Pan Bu also looked at the image of Xianyuan Qing and sighed softly. He thought to himself, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being nosy. Wang Xuanzhan's next spear strike will be very painful, because last year I was defeated by a single spear strike from Wang Xuanzhan in this state within the forest of 1,000 peaks. Wang Xuanzhan, who had activated the power of the ancient dragon triad bloodline, was covered in azure scales. His eyes were golden and exuded a boundless might. He pointed his spear at Xianyuan Qing and said coldly, I only need one spear strike to defeat you. Wang Xuanzhan moved. This time, his body moved along with his spear, his speed as fast as lightning. The shadow of an azure dragon formed along the path he ran, and the tip of the spear was the dragon's fang. Howl! The roar of the azure dragon shook the heavens, and the ferocity of the spear was unstoppable. Xianyuan Qing only felt that the instant Wang Xuanzhan attacked, the tip of the spear had already arrived before him. In that instant, he felt as if he was facing an ancient dragon. A terrifying might engulfed him from all directions. If it was an ordinary cultivator of the spirit-nurturing stage, they definitely wouldn't even be able to muster the thought of resisting in the face of such a scene. However, Xianyuan Qing was extremely calm. Heaven and earth reversal. His eyes became blank, as if they had lost focus. Only when the tip of the spear arrived before him did the long sword in his hand start to move. Although it looked very slow, it made contact with the sharp tip of the spear just in time. The image of a black and white fish materialized beneath his feet, and the long sword slowly turned to a mysterious angle. Boom! An azure dragon spewed forth, and the extremely powerful spear strike actually tore apart the ground 100 feet in front of Wang Xuanzhan, forming a pitch-black ravine. Blood slowly dripped onto the ground. Xianyuan Qing was injured. However, there was a look of shock on Wang Xuanzhan's face. You actually dodged it? Xianyuan Qing's shoulder had been pierced by the spear, and blood stained his left arm. He didn't reply. Instead, he took advantage of Wang Xuanzhan's shock to retreat and put some distance between them. Senior Chen, if you don't run now, I won't be able to hold on much longer. I can only last 5 more moves at most. Hurry up! After saying this, Xianyuan Qing continued to assume a defensive stance. Wang Xuanzhan. Chen. Somewhere on the White Jade Plaza, many students turned their gazes toward Senior Pan. In response, Pan Bu remained silent, maintaining the appearance of a superior cultivator. What a joke! He was Pan Bu, ranked 20th on the Immortal Rankings board. It was perfectly normal for his juniors to look at him with reverent gazes. However, at this moment, Senior Pan didn't have much of an expression of enjoyment on his face. His face was a little red, and it even felt a little hot within the forest of 1,000 peaks. Above Wang Xuanzhan and Xianyuan Qing's battle, Dioscorea Kankangensis was observing the battle. When he saw that Xianyuan Qing had dodged Wang Xuanzhan's full-force attack, his expression involuntarily changed. Xianyuan Qing is indeed a once-in-a-century prodigy of the 10,000 Spirits Immortal sect, to have comprehended the Tao of myriad spirit Tai Chi at such a young age. Just based on this technique alone, his battle prowess is already much stronger than that Pan Bu. Chapter 38. The battle between Wang Xuanzhan and Xianyuan Qing erupted once again. Each time the spear and the longsword clashed, vital energy would surge and explode, creating an extremely fearsome sight to behold. If a normal person were to approach their battle, they might very well die innocently from the shockwaves of their battle. Wang Xuanzhan didn't unleash that earth-shattering spear strike from before. After all, that technique wasn't something that could be used casually. Xianyuan Qing was already injured, so it was only a matter of time before he lost. Most importantly, Chen Chen didn't leave this place. Wang Xuanzhan decided to conserve some of his strength to deal with Chen Chen. Techniques that expended too much energy should be used as little as possible. On the other side of the battle, Chen Chen also had a conflicted expression. To leave or not to leave, this was a problem. If he chose to leave, then Wang Xuanzhan would definitely put his life on the line and pay a heavy price to end this battle as quickly as possible. When that time came, Xianyuan Qing would definitely lose miserably. Chen Chen felt that if he chose to leave, it would be a little unfair to Xianyuan Qing, who had sacrificed himself to save him. But if he didn't leave, would Xianyuan Qing be angered to the point of vomiting blood? After all, he was kind enough to create an opportunity for him to escape, but he just stood there and watched the show. Sigh, why did I encounter such a troublesome situation? Chen Chen's delicate features were filled with the vicissitudes of life, and he felt as if he had aged by a day. Forget it. Let's just let Junior Xianyuan finish this battle calmly. Chen Chen made his decision, and his expression returned to normal as he continued to spectate the battle from where he stood. Wang Xuanzhan was a powerful cultivator of the spirit-nurturing final stage to begin with, and now that he had activated the power of his bloodline, his battle prowess was off the charts. Each of his attacks was imbued with extremely powerful might, forcing Xianyuan Qing to retreat again and again as he sustained injuries. Right at this moment, a huge dog flew past in the sky, and a handsome male sat on its back. He swept his gaze toward the battlefield, and his expression suddenly shifted. Dragon Bow! Wang Xuanzhan discovered an opening in Xianyuan Qing's defense, and he thrust his spear downward. The projection of an azure dragon appeared between heaven and earth as the spear fell before pouncing toward Xianyuan Qing. Boom! The azure dragon image broke through Xianyuan Qing's circular qi barrier and exploded. In an instant, a terrifying energy burst out, and the ground within a radius of 3 zhang around Xianyuan Qing caved in. Violent air currents swept out in all directions, forming a hurricane. A mouthful of blood spurted out from Xianyuan Qing's mouth. His body swayed slightly, and in the end, he could no longer support himself and fell backwards. A golden barrier appeared around him. Xianyuan Qing had been defeated. Wang Xuanzhan panted heavily. He didn't think that Xianyuan Qing would be able to last so long against him. Defeating a cultivator of the spirit-nurturing intermediate stage shouldn't even be this difficult. The difficulty of this battle had far exceeded his expectations. He turned his gaze toward Chen Chen, and an expression of excitement appeared on his face. Finally, there's no one here to interrupt our battle. I'll definitely. Before he could finish his sentence, an enraged roar sounded from the sky. How dare you! How dare you injure my big brother Cheng? Die! Saying this, the man and the dog descended from the sky. Wang Xuanzhan looked up at the sky, and his face convulsed. What's wrong with me today? Who did I piss off? Chen Chen had initially planned to run away, but he stood rooted to the spot in a daze when he saw the scene in the sky. The one with the biggest reaction was Xianyuan Qing. When he saw the two approaching figures, he immediately yelled, "Classmate and Lin, don't come over! Run!" However, the man and the dog in the sky didn't seem to have any intention of leaving. Instead, they sped up and charged toward them. Xianyuan Qing was exhausted. He had initially thought that by stepping forward, Chen Chen would be able to escape. Now, Chen Chen didn't run, and classmate and Lin had come to send him off on the White Jade Plaza. The students who had witnessed the battle were all in awe of Xianyuan Qing's performance. Who would have thought that such a powerful cultivator would appear among the new students? He was actually able to last so long against Wang Xuanzhan's full power. From the strength he displayed, even some cultivators of the spirit-nurturing intermediate stage are no match for him. In 2 or 3 years, the first place on the Immortal Rankings board will probably belong to him. Classmate Xianyuan is so handsome. Even though he was defeated, his white robe still fluttered gracefully in the wind. D*M in this image. Can't you zoom in and let me have a good look at classmate Xuanyuan's face? The cameraman doesn't have to go to work tomorrow. Xianyuan Cheng's fangirls protested loudly, and the crowd was enraged. Right at this moment, a figure flying on dog kinesis flight appeared on the screen. This image was so familiar that all the students were momentarily dazed. Holy F***ck. It's the heroic human and dog duo. What are they doing here? Don't tell me they're going to use their golden light poison fist to smash Wang Xuanzhan's face? Golden light poison fist? Even if they unleash all 18 forms of dog pounce, they still won't be able to take down Wang Xuanzhan's spear. It's important to recognize the difference in strength. If they don't throw their lives away, they might be able to survive for a while longer. Unlin and Dabai's appearance caused another wave of commotion among the tens of thousands of students. However, many students didn't have high hopes for them. In fact, they were a little disappointed. Why did they have to take things so hard? Why couldn't they find other students? They wanted to watch a few more fights between a human and a dog. At the top of the enchantment barrier, the white-haired Dioscorea cancongensis also felt his heart ache when he saw a man riding a dog onto the stage. These are the weirdos that Madagascar mentioned, right? As expected, they're extraordinary. Dioscorea cancongensis stroked his beard as he muttered to himself. The data had already been transferred to his hands. After looking at the data, he almost pulled his beard out. Not only was his heart unable to bear it, but his head was also aching. Unlin, combat capability, 260, achievement score, 1010. Unlin's summon beast, Dabai, combat capability, 400, achievement score, 630. What the hell is a summon beast? Does the cultivation world even have summon beasts? And this achievement score, split in pairs? Is this the solution that Madagascar came up with to resolve this conflict? This is way too sloppy. Students had to have a combat capability of over 250 to enter the top 100 of the Immortal Rankings board, and students of the Spirit Nurturing stage had to have a combat capability of over 350. Unlin, a student who entered the school with a Zeroth stage Dao body and slept in class, already had the strength to enter the top 100 of the Immortal Rankings board after only cultivating for 4 months? And what the hell is with this 1010 achievement score? Is he trying to break the school record? Dioscorea cancongensis had a lot of words to say, but he felt terrible holding them in the end. He thought it through. Existence was reasonable, and this F***ket-up human and dog duo could still exist here, so it must be reasonable. I'll just follow Madagascar's method and remember it first. In any case, Celestial Immortal Yuhua is the one who's going to have a headache in the end. This kind of troublesome matter should be left to Vice Principal Yuhua to handle. In the sky, Unlin became even more furious when he saw that Xianyuan Cheng had already been teleported out with injuries all over his body. Of all the people he could bully, why did he have to bully my big brother Cheng? Dabai, go up and F***ck him up? You go first if you can, woof. Unlin. Let's go together. Dabai. Together, woof. Chapter 39. Wang Xuanzhan didn't expect that after beating up a busybody, another would appear out of nowhere to avenge him. The most important thing was that this revenge was revenge for that meddlesome person. What the hell was going on? Moreover, it was a human and dog duo. Where did these freaks come from? Wang Xuanzhan had a bad temper to begin with. Now, he was gnashing his teeth. He felt as if he had been trampled over by 10,000 mythological beasts. First year Class 1, Unlin. Please enlighten me. Unlin's summoned beast, Dabai. Please enlighten me, woof. Wang Xuanzhan. Wang Xuanzhan had decided that he was going to turn these two weirdos into a kebab. Just as the battle was about to begin, a figure suddenly appeared between Wang Xuanzhan and Enlin. Wang Xuanzhan and Enlin both paused when they saw the figure that suddenly appeared. "Senior brother, don't stop me. Get out of the way," Enlin said anxiously. "Anlin junior brother, Wang Xuanzhan and I have already agreed to battle here. No matter how anxious we are, we still have to abide by the principle of first come, first serve. Don't you agree?" Chen Chen looked at Enlin with his clear eyes and spoke in a refined and courteous manner. Hearing this, an expression of disbelief appeared on Enlin's face. "Senior brother, you're only of the 8th stage Tao body. You want to battle a senior of the spirit-nurturing stage?" Chen Chen nodded earnestly. Even Enlin could clearly sense the determination on his face. Enlin couldn't find a reason to object. He could only suppress his anger and retreat to the side with Dabai. Wang Xuanzhan was ecstatic. Never would he have thought that Chen Chen would take the initiative to battle. If he had to make an analogy right now, it would be: he was about to marry a sow. Then, a fairy-like woman suddenly appeared and kicked the sow away. Then, she insisted on dragging him into the bridal chamber. "Senior brother Chen, do you really mean what you said just now?" Wang Xuanzhan's battle intent began to burst forth, and his dragon's might surged like raging waves as he stared at Chen Chen with a scorching gaze. "That's right. Let's do it." Chen Chen sighed softly. He knew that if he didn't stop Enlin would end up like Xianyuan Cheng. This feeling of people constantly standing in front of him gave him a very subtle feeling. At this moment, his state of mind was very clear. At the very least, he couldn't drag these cute juniors out because of his own matters. "All right?" Hearing Chen Chen's words, Wang Xuanzhan finally erupted. The battle intent that he had accumulated for more than 3 years was completely released at this moment. Rumble! The scales on Wang Xuanzhan's body trembled, and his golden eyes were imbued with a dragon's might that looked down upon all things. The power of his ancient dragon bloodline had been completely released. When the battle will was released, the wind howled furiously. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, and the roar of dragons and thunder could be vaguely heard. Seeing this, Dioscorea Kankenjensis's face was filled with shock. "This is a natural phenomenon? In the dragon court of the eastern seas, only soul formation stage dragon kings could use the power of their bloodline to trigger a natural phenomenon. However, Wang Xuanzhan was able to do so at the spirit nurturing stage. This truly gave Dioscorea Kankenjensis a fright. He won't die, will he?" Dioscorea Kankenjensis wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and looked at Chen Chen with a worried expression. Chen Chen's strength had always been a mystery. Although he had been stuck at the 8th stage Tao body for the past 5 years, no one would believe that he only had the strength of an 8th stage Tao body. Just that escape technique alone was enough to easily escape from a cultivator of the spirit nurturing stage. It wasn't something that a student of the 8th stage Tao body could use. That was an escape technique that even the teachers couldn't understand. However, at this moment, Wang Xuanzhan's combat prowess had already reached an extremely terrifying level. Even if Chen Chen was concealing his strength, could his true strength really be heaven-defying? What if Wang Xuanzhan really managed to kill Chen Chen with his relentless attacks? Dioscorea Kankenjensis's head was about to explode. After pondering for a moment, he finally decided to use his ultimate technique and crushed a jade talisman. "Summon Mario! Tui, summon Vice Principal Yuhua." Amidst the dark clouds, a thick bolt of lightning fell and struck Wang Xuanzhan's spear. Instantly, a lightning dragon coiled around the spear, bringing with it a terrifying might of heaven and earth. This technique of mine is called the Lightning Dragon Spear. Are you ready to take this? At this moment, Wang Xuanzhan was like a god of war. As he spoke, his voice boomed like thunder, shaking heaven and earth. Chen Chen remained silent and made a gesture of please. Wang Xuanzhan moved. Wielding the lightning dragon coiled spear, he stabbed toward Chen Chen. It was impossible to describe what kind of speed this was. In the blink of an eye, Wang Xuanzhan appeared before Chen Chen like a bolt of lightning. The spear was inches away from Wang Xuanzhan, exuding an invincible might that made it difficult for one to breathe. Chen Chen's expression remained unchanged. He raised his hand and extended his index finger toward Wang Xuanzhan's glabella. Heaven and earth instantly fell silent at the tip of Chen Chen's finger. Wang Xuanzhan's body froze on the spot. Looking at Chen Chen's finger, he felt an indescribable sense of terror. That finger grew larger and larger, and the might of the heavenly Tao enveloped his entire body. Wang Xuanzhan's body trembled slightly. He saw a finger that could pierce through the heavens, and it was pointing toward him. If this finger fell, he would definitely be obliterated. He felt like an ant looking up at a finger that could shatter the heavens. Clang, clang, as if it had encountered something extremely terrifying, the lightning dragon on the spear transformed into countless arcs of electricity and dissipated. Wang Xuanzhan's battle intent cooled, and he stumbled back in fear as cold sweat beaded on his forehead. The dark clouds in the sky dissipated, and the sun shone down upon the earth once again. Chen Chen was enshrouded in a layer of light, but he still appeared as pristine as ever. What technique is that? Wang Xuanzhan's lips trembled, and he stuttered. Finger of the heavenly Tao, Chen Chen replied with cupped hands. Saying this, he turned and left. Wang Xuanzhan looked at Chen Chen's departing figure, but he couldn't bring himself to stop him. His battle intent had been shattered, and fear welled up in his heart whenever he thought back to that finger that could steal the colors of heaven and earth. I'm so laughable, Wang Xuanzhan muttered to himself as he sat on the ground in dejection. Unlin, who had been spectating from afar, came to a realization when he saw Chen Chen's finger. Immediately afterward, his head began to throb with intense pain. Ah, it hurts. Unlin collapsed to the ground and clutched his head as he howled in pain. He felt as if his head was about to explode. The pain was unimaginable. A dazzling light radiated from his system in his mind. Finger of the heavenly Tao, a finger that contains the essence of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Upon initial mastery, it can annihilate all things. Upon phenomenal mastery, it can pierce through space, pierce through time, and shatter the great Tao. The heavenly Tao is flawed. The heaven-crushing technique and the heaven-mending technique both manifest their Tao. This is the heaven-crushing technique. A string of information began to flow into Enlin's mind. However, he was in so much pain that he couldn't process this information. He could only clutch his head in agony. Dabai was dumbstruck. He didn't understand why Wang Xuanzhan would stop attacking after Chen Chen extended that ordinary finger and collapsed to the ground in fright. He also didn't understand why Enlin would suddenly roll around on the ground after seeing that finger. The tens of thousands of students on the White Jade Plaza were also dumbstruck. They looked at each other. At most, they would rub their eyes and continue to stare at the screen in bewilderment. They really wanted to say something or make some guesses to explain what had just happened. However, they soon discovered that they couldn't come up with any explanation for this phenomenon. All they saw was the peerless Wang Xuanzhan collapse to the ground in fright after being struck by Chen Chen's ordinary finger. This scene was far too bizarre. How were they supposed to explain it? Could it be that Chen Chen had forgotten to add special effects to his technique? If that really was the case, then they would have to congratulate that person because they were only half correct. When Chen Chen unleashed his technique, he only applied special effects to Wang Xuanzhan. The others didn't get the chance to witness it. It was exactly because of this that Dioscorea Canconjensis's eyes widened upon witnessing this scene. He couldn't help but pull out a few strands of his white beard. Holy F***ck. What the hell happened? Can someone explain this to me? Dioscorea Canconjensis was dumbstruck. He was on the verge of tears. It was one thing for the students to be dumbstruck, but he was the teacher responsible for assessing the combat strength. Did Wang Xuanzhan lose to Qin Qin? Then, could someone tell him how Qin Qin's combat strength was calculated? He didn't even F*King know what Qin Qin's finger represented. What right did he have to write down Qin Qin's combat strength? Dioscorea Cancongensis turned his pleading gaze toward a man standing in the air beside him. He had thick, black eyebrows and a thick, black mustache, giving him an extremely comical appearance. That's right, he was Vice Principal Yuhua, who had rushed over in time after Dioscorea Cancongensis crushed his jade talisman. Vice Principal Yuhua had also witnessed everything that had transpired earlier. Ahem. Song Qing. I used my divine sense to observe the battles in other areas. How about you give me a report on what just happened? Celestial Immortal Yuhua asked with a nonchalant expression. Song Qing's face twitched violently. Can't you come up with a better excuse, Principal? Although my beard is white, that doesn't mean I have dementia. Chapter 40. Dioscorea Cancongensis sighed. His expression was gloomy, and he didn't know what to do. Right at this moment, Vice Principal Yuhua spoke again. He no longer spoke in a joking tone. Instead, he spoke in an extremely serious tone. Song Qing, just pretend you didn't see what happened to student Qin Qin. Song Qing was momentarily dazed. Just as he was feeling confused, Vice Principal Yuhua continued. All things are indifferent, and the affairs of the world return to dust. Qin Qin has made a mistake this time. As teachers, the only thing we can do now is to correct the mistakes of our students. Do you understand? After listening to Vice Principal Yuhua's words, Dioscorea Cancongensis finally came to a realization. All the fog began to disperse. Song Qing understands. Dioscorea Cancongensis lowered his head respectfully and bowed to Celestial Immortal Yuhua. Vice Principal Yuhua nodded his head in approval when he saw Dioscorea Cancongensis. Immediately afterward, he turned his gaze downward again. There was another person there that he was more concerned about. That was Enlin, who was currently rolling around on the ground. Enlin didn't know how long this headache lasted, but in his eyes, it felt as long as a century. This kind of terrifying pain was deeply imprinted in his mind. He could definitely write tens of thousands of words to describe this feeling. Ouch, this pain, it almost took my life. Enlin rubbed his head and stood up with difficulty. His entire body was drenched in sweat. Ha, aren't you still alive, woof? Dabai wagged his tail happily as he looked at Enlin, who seemed to be fine. Qin Qin had already left. Silence reigned over the battlefield. Enlin looked at Wang Xuanzhan, who was still sitting on the ground with a vacant look in his eyes. He began to hesitate. Dabai, do you think we should still go up and fight him? Enlin couldn't bear to see Wang Xuanzhan lose all will to fight and was in a daze. Of course we're going. Isn't beating a drowning dog our favorite thing to do? Dabai said proudly. Don't be so proud of such a terrible thing, okay? Enlin felt a little helpless. Just as Enlin and Dabai were discussing whether to go or not, Wang Xuanzhan had already stood up unsteadily. When he saw that Enlin and Dabai were still standing in place, his face sank. Why didn't you take the chance to escape? Why are you still here? Are you here to make fun of me? As Wang Xuanzhan walked toward Enlin, rage gradually welled up in his heart. Could it be that you think I'm a pushover just because I lost to Qin Qin? Is that why you want to defeat me so that you can make a name for yourself in the Celestial Court? Let me tell you, even if I lost to Qin Qin, I'm still countless times stronger than you guys. You want to defeat me? Dream on. I'll let you know the true difference in power. Wang Xuanzhan's eyes turned golden again, and the power in his body surged forth like a raging wave. He needed a battle to reforge his battle intent. Enlin was initially in favor of leaving. But now Wang Xuanzhan blabbered on and was about to unleash his power to beat him up. Even if he wanted to run, he wouldn't be able to. Woof. As expected of the number one on the Immortal Rankings board, Wang Xuanzhan. after suffering a setback, he recovered his status as the school god of war so quickly. Unlin, let's run. Dabai suddenly spoke. Unlin was so angry that his vision darkened. Weren't you in favor of fighting just then? It's too late to think of running now. Dabai stuck out his tongue awkwardly. In the beginning, he thought that since he and Wang Xuanzhan were both of the spirit-nurturing stage, there shouldn't be too much of a difference in power. However, when he saw the battle between Wang Xuanzhan and Qin Qin, he was frightened by the terrifying power of Wang Xuanzhan's bloodline. After that, there were many twists and turns, and Wang Xuanzhan was mysteriously defeated. Moreover, he even lost all of his battle intent. Seeing this, Dabai had a devious thought. He wanted to experience the thrill of being ridden by a dog. Coincidentally, Wang Xuanzhan also had the thought of using them to practice his spear. Moreover, they were in pretty good condition. How was he supposed to continue? Unlin, how about this? I'll swallow you first. That should be fine, right? Dabai was still a loyal friend at this critical juncture. After realizing that he couldn't win, he decided to use a gentler method to send Unlin out of the barrier. Unlin shook his head and sighed lightly. Then, he stood in front of Dabai and faced Wang Xuanzhan. Dabai's eyes widened in shock. He didn't know what Unlin was up to. Unlin, if we're going to fight, I'll be the main attacker. You'll be the support. What are you doing standing in front of me? I want to try out a new technique. If it doesn't work, then you can attack. Unlin wasn't very confident either. Dabai. At this moment on White Jade Plaza, all the students had just recovered from the battle between Qin Qin and Wang Xuanzhan. Then, they saw that Wang Xuanzhan and the gallant human and dog duo were also about to fight. Their hearts that had just calmed down were now on edge again. This was especially true for Xianyuan Qing and Su Xiaolan, who had just returned to White Jade Plaza. Their faces were filled with worry. At the same time, there were also some students who were gloating. They were all students who had been eliminated by the human and dog duo. Right now, there was an expectant look on their faces. Humph, Unlin, aren't you very good at fighting? Now, let's see how you'll be eliminated miserably. As a senior, Pan Buyu was able to ease the awkwardness of the situation. He saw that Wang Xuanzhan and the gallant human and dog duo were about to fight on the crystal screen. He felt that it was time to save some face. Wang Xuanzhan's invincible battle intent was shattered during his battle with Qin Qin. He is no longer as invincible as before. But now, he's already slowly recovered from his previous battle. He still possesses the power of spirit-nurturing final stage. He'll use the gallant human and dog duo as a whetstone to return to the peak of his power. Pan Buyu's robes fluttered even though there was no wind. He appeared proud and refined. His words attracted the attention of all the students. It was as if he had become the center of attention in this area. Within the forest of 1,000 peaks, Wang Xuanzhan felt a tightness in his chest when he saw that Unlin actually dared to stand out and face him head-on. A ferocious glint appeared in his eyes. You, a cultivator of the 9th stage Tao body, actually dared to stand out and fight me alone. Very well. Do you think that I'm trash just because I was defeated by Qin Qin of the 8th stage Tao body? Unlin had no way of responding to this. He could only stand still and wait for Wang Xuanzhan's attack. Wang Xuanzhan was quite enraged by Unlin. A mere cultivator of the Tao body stage dared to fight him head-on. To an extremely proud person like him, this was a great humiliation. Watch out for my spear. Wang Xuanzhan didn't waste any more words. His spear, which was surrounded by a vital energy azure dragon, fiercely stabbed forward. The might of this spear was extremely great. Even a cultivator of the spirit-nurturing stage would be killed if they didn't evade. However, Unlin didn't evade or evade. Instead, he extended his finger. What a similar scene, what a similar action. The only difference was that the person using it was different. At that moment, Wang Xuanzhan recalled the terror of being dominated by the finger of the heavenly Tao. Boom! Heaven and earth darkened. It was as if only Enlin's finger, which contained the supreme great Tao, remained in the entire space. Wang Xuanzhan's eyes widened and an expression of terror appeared on his face. He felt as if he was facing an incomparably powerful existence. He felt as if he was about to die. Even when he was facing Qin Chen's attack, he didn't feel this intense feeling of impending death. The entire space was solidified. Even vital energy couldn't flow. This time, it was different from Qin Chen's attack. Because this time, its special effect didn't just target Wang Xuanzhan. Instead, it targeted the entire world. Heaven and earth collapsed and the sun and moon reversed direction. Amidst the chaos, only this supreme finger reigned supreme. Even though the tens of thousands of students on the White Jade Plaza were separated by a screen, they could still clearly feel the suffocating power emanating from the finger. It was suffocating and struck fear into their hearts. A massive hole suddenly appeared in the spell formation that enveloped the forest of 1,000 peaks. The supreme power of the great Tao poured into the hole and converged upon that single finger. Vice Principal Yuhua stood rooted to the spot with an expression of shock on his face. Dioscorea Cancongensis was like a statue. He was completely speechless. Instead, he felt the urge to kneel onto the ground. Wang Xuanzhan was already scared witless. Drool was dripping from the corners of his mouth. He was completely immobilized as he stared blankly at that single finger. What a terrifying finger! Just by charging its power, it was able to make all things pale in comparison. Enlin was extremely astonished. After that bout of intense headache, he had already gained some understanding of the finger of the heavenly Tao. But didn't the system say that he didn't have the right to unleash it? He had thought that the "don't have the right to unleash it" referred to him putting on a show like Chun Chun to scare Wang Xuanzhan. However, the scene before him now, a power that caused heaven and earth to pale in comparison, was rapidly converging upon his hand. This power that made even him tremble in fear had already materialized and was about to be unleashed at full force. Enlin roared in his heart. He wanted to stop the technique. He knew that if he truly unleashed this finger, even 100 Wang Xuanzhan wouldn't be enough to stop it. However, aside from his consciousness, he felt as if his body no longer belonged to him. He couldn't stop his movements at all. It's over. Wang Xuanzhan is done for this time. Chapter 41. A boundless golden glow erupted from Enlin's fingertip. This power was already beyond his control and was about to escape from his fingertip. A ferocious expression appeared on Enlin's face as he desperately tried to restrain his power. At the same time, he roared in his heart, "No. Put it away. At least, don't hit Wang Xuanzhan." Perhaps it was because of his intense desire, or perhaps it was because of the effect of his roar, but the glow on his fingertip suddenly dimmed and the power within it quickly dissipated. Enlin's expression faltered. Before he could even heave a sigh of relief, a wisp of silk-like golden light escaped from his fingertip. It pierced through Wang Xuanzhan's head but didn't cause him any damage. Immediately afterward, it landed on the ground behind Wang Xuanzhan. Boom! Boundless energy erupted and the entire earth began to tremble. The golden light was like a divine sword glowing with boundless radiance, tearing the earth apart and extending for over 10,000 feet. The pure power of the great Tao reduced all matter in its path to dust and annihilated all the small mountains in its path. Soon, the power completely dissipated and everything returned to normal. Enlin stared at the seemingly boundless rift valley up ahead, and he was completely dumbstruck. Wang Xuanzhan's expression was sluggish. After the suffocating power around him dissipated, his eyes rolled over and he completely fainted on the White Jade Plaza. The tens of thousands of students felt their bodies relax after the light from the finger disappeared. It was as if a huge rock had been lifted from their shoulders. Right at this moment, someone stared at the screen and yelled, "Look, what's that?" Everyone stared at the screen. After the dust and smoke dissipated, the scene revealed on the screen caused them to all draw in a sharp breath. Everyone stared at the scene before their eyes, dumbstruck. A gigantic rift had appeared on the ground, extending for over 10,000 feet. It was pitch black and eerie, and even the sunlight was swallowed by it, unable to reach the bottom at all. It was like a scar on the earth, sinister and terrifying. Even Earth immortals of the soul formation stage wouldn't be able to unleash such terrifying power, let alone cultivators of the spirit nurturing stage. After a long while, some students finally recovered from their shock and stammered. "Is this the power of Enlin's technique?" Countless people raised their heads and looked at the proud and upright figure. His expression was indifferent, and his white Taoist robe fluttered in the wind, appearing ethereal and majestic. Was it really him? Regardless of whether it was the unconscious Wang Xuanzhan or the ghastly crack in the ground, all of them gave the students a surreal feeling. Pan Biu slapped his own face and kept saying, "I must be dreaming, I must be dreaming." However, the students quickly accepted this fact. As the saying goes, seeing is believing. Tens of thousands of students had clearly seen how Enlin had unleashed that finger attack through the screen. This definitely couldn't be fake. Furthermore, they had all experienced how terrifying that finger attack was through the screen, so how could it be fake? Thus, many of the students turned to Enlin with a scorching light in their eyes. Some of the female students even gazed at the figure on the screen with adoration. "So, he is the most monstrous person among the new batch of students." Bullshit. He's already the most monstrous person in our entire school. Student Enlin possesses such divine powers. Even when he was rumored to be the most networked entrant, he still remained calm and indifferent. Such a temperament is worthy of respect and admiration. On the plaza, the topic of Enlin instantly exploded. The more people talked about it, the more animated they became. In the end, student Enlin seemed to be covered in a layer of divine radiance. Even Su Xiaolan, Xianyuan Qing, and the others who were familiar with Enlin felt as if they were meeting him for the first time. Lu Debao even bragged to the people around him that he and Enlin had once fought an evenly matched battle. Gradually, the topic of conversation began to change. "Enlin, I want to bear your children." "Enlin is mine, go away." "Everyone has the right to pursue Enlin, let's compete fairly." All right, I'm Enlin's classmate." Those who want to have an intimate date with Enlin, men stand here, women stand over there. I'll make a tally and report it to him. Enlin's peerless charm was attractive to both men and women. The crowd was unusually enthusiastic. At this moment, someone said something loudly, and the crowd instantly quieted down. "Stop fighting, all of you. Enlin is already together with that white dog. Have you all forgotten the title of the gallant man and dog couple?" As soon as this was said, everyone came to a realization. That's right, that white dog and Enlin's battle is so tacit. They fight side by side, they live and die together. Their bond is so deep, they are a pair. When Zhao Huayin, who was in the corner, heard this, he cried until he fainted in the toilet. However, there were still many fans who did not give up. They all cast their cold gazes at the white dog on the screen, and they began to plan in their hearts, in the forest of 1,000 peaks. Dabai suddenly felt a chill all over his body, and he couldn't help but sneeze. What's with this feeling? Is there another enemy? Dabai's face changed. He looked left and right, but didn't find any signs. He looked at Enlin and found that he was still standing in the same place, looking graceful and graceful. He couldn't help but call out, "Woof! Although you're very powerful, haven't you had enough of posing for so long? Do you think I want to pose?" Enlin wanted to speak to Dabai, but he couldn't open his mouth at all. Right now, he couldn't feel his body, just like when he used the finger of the heavenly Tao. He couldn't control it at all. In the sky, Dioscorea Cancongensis didn't know what kind of expression he should use to face Enlin below. Was this person really the student he knew? He could stab him to death with just one finger. Dioscorea Cancongensis turned his gaze toward the vice principal of Yuhua, but found that his expression wasn't much better than his. In fact, the vice principal of Yuhua looked even more shocked than him, and he still hadn't come to his senses even now. Dioscorea Cancongensis continued to write down the data: Wang Xuanzhan combat capability, 1200 achievement score, 8100 note, defeated by Enlin combat capability. When he wrote down Enlin, his finger paused and he turned his pleading gaze toward the vice principal of Yuhua. Vice principal, may I ask what Enlin's combat capability should be? He asked softly. Hearing this, the vice principal of Yuhua began to come to his senses. He looked at the elderly man beside him and sighed. Song Qing, you're still thinking of writing down data at a time like this. I'm very touched by your professionalism. However, if student Enlin had unleashed his full power just then, he might have been able to split this entire floating continent in half. Even I don't know what to write down for his combat capability. Hearing this, Song Qing was once again dumbfounded. What? Enlin hadn't unleashed his full power from that attack? He could split this floating continent in half if he unleashed his full power? Could Enlin be some true god in disguise and came to school out of boredom? Song Qing felt like he was about to cry. Was this really AF** King student? He definitely wasn't a student, right? Right at this moment, the vice principal of Yuhua suddenly looked down at Enlin with a perplexed expression. Student Enlin doesn't seem to be in a good state. A ding sounded in Enlin's mind, and a notification appeared. Congratulations, you have completed the mission of being admired by tens of thousands of people. You have officially activated the Divine Might technique. He was a little dumbfounded. This Divine Might technique had always been listed as the most impossible mission. How did it suddenly complete? What on earth happened? Then, before he could figure out the reason, he felt a swelling pain all over his body. Ding! Detected that the host is suffering from the backlash of the heavenly Tao. Protection mechanism activated and Lin's heart jolted. What backlash of the heavenly Tao? Could it be the aftereffects of that attack just now? A heart-wrenching pain began to spread through his body. It was an indescribable pain, as if every single cell in his body was being torn apart. Right at this moment, he felt his body swelling up more and more, as if it was about to explode. Bam! Enlin exploded. Under the gaze of tens of thousands of students and under the watchful eyes of the vice principal of Yuhua, his body exploded into a mist of blood. A thick mist of blood covered the entire space like a blooming red flower,